Hi there. Let's talk about this number right here. This is how much debt I have. I'm about $180,000 in debt from both federal and private student loans, my car loan, credit cards. That is all of my debt. I am 24 years old. I have a bachelor degree, so not even a master's. I have one minor, no focus in my major, as well as an honors degree, which did require some extra credits. So that is where this number is coming from. This is on top of the little amount of scholarships that I was awarded, so money I didn't have to pay back. This is everything I owe. Everything I owe. I came out of college in June of 2024, and I did not look at the debt that I was accruing. I took out loans as I needed them each year for college, and I didn't really think about what the percentages meant because I was never taught financial literacy. I didn't think about what the realistic number was going to be that I would have to owe each month on these loans, and they are astronomical, I will say.
Now then, this is a rather long TikTok video. It's about 9 minutes, okay? So there are going to be stops in this, without a doubt. She is 24. I am 57, going on 58 this summer. When I took out my student loans at the age of approximately 32, I did the exact same thing that she did. I just took out loans because I just wanted to get my teaching degree. I never actually stopped to look to see what was the actual amount that I was taking out. In other words, I was basing the payments, stupidly so, when I was in my 30s, all right? I was basing the payments on, could I afford it each month? It would be no different than if I had purchased a car and said, hey, how much is the car payment each month, without actually looking at the total bill, which I've made that mistake too. It's easy for us to look back and say, how silly is that you would take out student loan debt and you would have absolutely no idea of what you are accruing. For those that may have never been in this situation, and for that which you should be ever so grateful, one of the things that you need to realize is oftentimes, regardless of age even, okay? Of course, I'm wiser now, all right? But regardless of age, a lot of the times what winds up happening is we just want the degree. That's really what we want, you know? We just simply want the degree. We aren't being logical. We're not logically looking and going, how much is this debt? How many years is it going to take me to pay back? How many jobs am I going to have to hold? We don't look at it like this. And this is why story after story, almost regardless of age, you're going to see people who have taken out these astronomical amounts of student loan debt. When my $110,000 was forgiven in 2022, thank you to the taxpayers, I really, really realized, well before that happened, because I held the student loan for 16 years, okay? 16 years I held that student loan. I realized just how foolish I was. But yet at the time that I made the loan, I didn't see it as being foolish. I thought of it as being very smart because, hey, I want to be a teacher. I'm going to go to school, get a master's degree, yada, yada. And here's the interesting part. I already had a bachelor's. I could have become a teacher still, doing the exact same thing that I do right now, and I'm in my 19th year of teaching. I could have done it through district classes and skipped the whole let's go and get a master's degree. So it's really hard for me to throw stones at someone and say, well, how come you couldn't have figured out in advance that you had all this debt? Because I did the same thing. It's our mindset. That's what it's about. We're not thinking logically. It's like we crawl down the rabbit hole. Okay? And this does not happen to everyone, clearly. But it happens to enough of us that we have a whole host and world of videos that I will never run out of content of people who get themselves into student loan debt that they can't get out of. And remember, she's 24.
Sally Mae, which is my private loan creditor, wants $1,800 a month from me. That's just Sally Mae. I am right now in a grace period for 12 months where I only have to pay $1,033 to Sally Mae.
This is for Sally Mae. Okay, she has other debt as well. This is for Sally Mae, 1800. Okay, let's put this in perspective, because you know me, I'm a big fan of putting things into perspective. This is my entire cost of living for a month. As a teacher, okay, in my 19th year, I've added up all my bills. That actually is around all my bills are around $1,400 a month. I'm throwing an extra $500 or so for food. Yeah. And that's after my medical insurance also. Okay, which gets automatically taken out of my paycheck, which it has for, I think, all 19 years, so I never see it. Okay, but aside from my medical insurance, because I never see that, but it is still a cost, so it has to be acknowledged. But aside from that, which the district takes out, okay, my total cost of living is about $1,400 a month. Her student loan is $1,800. These are figures that, when placed against, the backdrop of just the basics of living, young people, your student loan, if you are not careful in what you are running up, can exceed an entire monthly bill of running a small household like mine. That's being just me, myself, and I. This is why students cannot get out of student loan debt. They are borrowing so much. And like I said, okay, I believe she has other bills as well. I only watch this video like in part. I try to watch most of these in full with you guys. So this one was kind of long, so I didn't want to watch the entire thing. Save it all to watch with you.
I would not be able to afford the $1,800 a month if I wasn't able to get it down for 12 months. I don't know what I'm going to do in 11 months, but this is just me talking about it.
And that's the other thing, okay? The student loan people can put out a temporary hardship, whatever. What are you going to do after that? And remember, not a lot. I think on almost every student loan, there's a limit of how many hardships you can take out. I think on mine, there was a limit, something like 3 years of forbearance. Well, what are you going to do after that is up? And don't forget, they can garnish your wages. They don't need to take you to court. It is the federal government, after all. So hardships are just band-aids. They are not solutions. It is so important that you are adding up the actual cost of the loan. And we have to also remember, a lot of you guys who are taking on these loans, you haven't ever even paid off $1,000 bill. Oh, heck, a lot of you have never even paid off a $500 bill. And yet you're going to take on tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. She has almost the equivalent of 2 of my condos, because my condo was $100,000. She bought almost 2 of my condos, and she's 24. It's making my bankruptcy at 24, because I went bankrupt at the same age. Okay, my bankruptcy was $25,000. Now, yeah, I understand that was decades ago, but still, even if you counted for inflation, I don't think it would add up to 188. This is astronomical debt.
On top of that, I owe about $287 to the federal government per month. That's not changing. And
So she owes $1,800 to Sally Mae plus $300 to the federal government. Chickie is over $2,000. Now then, let's do more math here, and I'm bad at math, so we keep my math real simple. Okay, there are 12 months in a year, so $24,000 a year. $24,000. What was your tax return? Well, what was your final tax return after taxes? Okay, think of just the first 24,000, not your tax return, excuse me. What was your take-home income? That's what I meant to say, your net income. Okay, 24,000 just to go to the student loan, and that's assuming she never makes a mistake or she never gets behind in payments. This affects your future in who you date, who you might marry, the situation that you can marry under, get into relationships under, and maybe I'll do a video on it. I haven't done anything on it so far, but what are the limits of what you're willing to date? I don't want to go off topic on it, but man, that would be a tasty subject to talk about. I think, is there a debt amount people have that you'd say, no, I can't have a relationship with you. You have so much debt. In short, for me, it would be if between he and I, we could not clear the debt, and it would require me to go get another job. That would be my limit. I can't take it on. It requires me to work more. physical reasons and everything else. I just can't do it. But she's 24, and she's basically starting the world with, hey, we're $200,000 in debt. Let's just round it off to what it is. So $24,000 goes to the student loan.
I owe $202 for my car payment, and that's not even including the $150 or $60 that I owe each month for the car insurance or my credit card payments. That doesn't include any of that. So, alone, Sally Mae wants $1,800 from me.
And they will get the $1,800 from you in blood, sweat, and tears.
I graduated college, as I just mentioned, in June of 2024, so this last year, and I wanted to just have a nice summer because I have been doing school for the last 5 years, and I've been taking summer courses full-time every year, and as well as working full-time. So this is also like the debt I have, and I was working full-time during the summers, and I was working part-time during the school years, so that's all, like, I still had no money, like, and I had to take out loans.
Wait a minute. I know it's the end of a long Tuesday for me, and we're hitting probably 10 o'clock at night, but did she say that basically she's feeling kind of bad because she's had to do all this work? Now, if she thinks she's struggling now, it's like, honey, the work isn't even started yet. You're sitting on, I'm just going to round it off, $200,000 in student loans. Okay? Add in all the interest and stuff, you're looking at a quarter mil over time. And that time's going to go real fast. Remember what I've said many, many times. You start passing that 100,000 mark, I couldn't get out of it. I could not get out of the $110,000 stinking loan that started at $85,000. 16 years ago was $85,000 when I started teaching, and I was 38. By the time I was 50, let's say I got forgiven 2 years ago, so about respectively 55, it had grown to 110. So she's feeling, like she's worked really hard and spent her summers working. Honey, you haven't even started.
So, being 23 years old, almost 24 when I graduated, I decided that I was just going to get a part-time job so that way I could only work part-time during the summer and kind of enjoy the summer because I had been doing over full-time in schools and working and had a role in my sorority, and I decided that I was just going to work part-time. And if I had looked at my loans fresh out of college, which I highly recommend you do if you have loans, do not wait until they are due to start looking at them. I decided to do that and made barely any money, but I didn't have any loan payments at the time during the summer, and I wish that I had started making the payments as soon as possible.
So she quit. Okay, I think I get this now. So she quit her full-time job to work part-time because she was tired and had worked hard. Okay, I get it. Part of me, I'm gonna play nice here. Okay, so I try to be nice here on occasion. Part of me will say, okay, I can understand that. Okay, she had a full-time job. She dropped down to a part-time job because, she's worked hard. But, chickie, you got $200,000 in student loans. Your hard work hasn't even begun. The ladder has not even been put against the wall for you to start climbing. You didn't... She may feel like she's earned a break, but no breaks have been earned. It's been party, sorority time. And here's another question. How much of that student loan money was really for the school, and how much of it was spent on other things? Parties and stuff like that, vacations, trips, whatever. There's a sense of, I hate to use the word entitlement because it's so overused, okay? But for lack of better words, there's a sense of, I've worked hard running up all this debt, and now I need a break.
On those loans while I had them. So I worked part-time. Around November, my best friend was like, hey, I have loans, you have loans. Have you looked at what your loan payments are going to be? And I was like, shh, can't be that bad, right? Wrong. I looked at my loan payments and I cried. Because I was not taught financial literacy. And I didn't understand how a credit company for student loans could charge me $1,800 if I wasn't making that much. I thought, okay, there must be something similar to the federal aid where you can do it based on income. No, they don't offer that. So I would...
Private loans do not offer income-based or anything else. When they say to you, oh, we'll look at it to trying to lower your payments, no, the most you're most likely going to get, 99.9% chance, is you're going to get, well, we can put it on forbearance as they keep running up the interest. And a forbearance, deferment, whatever, okay, they all have limits. You can't just be on forbearance for forever. And don't forget, even if there is some sort of forgiveness, even let's say with federal, even, okay, let's hop over to federal. Those don't count towards your 20 years or 25 years of making payments. This is how people retire with student loan debt in the 6 figures. She's a very good candidate for it.
Also look into that before you take out student loans if they're going to offer income-based or anything. They don't offer that. The best I could do was bring it down to $1,000. And then I was struggling to find a full-time job. I applied for like 3 months to over probably 500 jobs before I finally found one. This is the catch, that doesn't even require my degree.
And how many times have we heard that? Yes, it doesn't require your degree. I can't remember what she said she majored in.
Found a job that paid $20 an hour, 40 hours a week, and it was degree recommended, not required. So
okay, $20 an hour. Now, this video is very recent. It's trending right now. I'm trying to keep up on the latest trends of TikTok. $20 an hour. Let us gently remember she pays $24,000 a year toward her student loan payment. And don't forget, it's amortized loan. So of that $24,000, almost all of it goes to interest, because the bank's going to get their interest first.
I felt very grateful for that opportunity. I just don't understand why companies and jobs want you to have stepping stones but don't consider your degree to be the stepping stones or the foundation for working for those companies, and they want to pay less money for more years of experience. It doesn't make sense. It's really hard to find a job right now, like really, really hard. Anyway, flash forward, I'm doing this and I'm able to make my bare minimum payments, but that doesn't matter because in 12 months, I'm still going to owe $1,800 bare minimum on the Sallie Mae loans, and I cannot afford that.
This is how the loans keep you from sleeping at night. Okay? Yeah, and I said it earlier, you might get a little bit of a reprieve, but in the end, you are still dealing with the fact that how are you going to pay the bill down the road? I have been there, and I'm sure some of you out there have been there, okay? The reprieve, it's almost like, it's like a delayed jail sentence. We're not going to send you to jail now, okay? We'll let you go out and earn some livings, earn a little extra money. But in 6 months, a year, you're going to the pokey. Can you really enjoy life? Can you really sleep at night?
And I make $41,600 a year before taxes. Now, flash forward, I'm at this job for a couple months and I start to struggle really badly with my mental health. I'm talking like can't get out of bed except to go to work, really struggling, losing passion for everything, falling into a mix of, I would say, seasonal depression because it's winter and I struggle with that a lot, and also depression because my life is not going the way that I want it to go.
This is not seasonal depression. This is 100, well, I'm not going to say 100, I'm no mental, physical health psychologist, but I'm going to say, having been there, this is almost all caused by the debt. You could have the same struggle with finding a job. You could have the same struggle with relationships. I know she didn't mention that, but I'm just putting that in there. You could have the same struggles going on minus $188,000 in debt. Changes a lot of things. Okay, so it's important that we acknowledge that what's keeping you up at night, what feels like a ball and chain, is the debt. I remember when I got my student loan forgiven, I kid you not, and anybody who's been in this position understands, it was like I was freaking reborn. Everything I did, like it just simply changed perspective. Okay, so my student loan was forgiven, and I remember going, This is the first morning I've woken up without a six-figure student loan. This is the first time I've turned on my car without a six-figure student loan. This is the first time I've driven to work, gotten a paycheck without my six-figure student loan, being this as an albatross on my back. Okay? The depression that she's facing is not so much that it's seasonal. I mean, and people do go through seasonal depressions. I probably do. I think most of us. I think that sometimes the older we get, certain traumas and stuff are relived. We get it. I get it. Okay. But really what this is all about, it's really about the fact that she's got so much debt and there's nowhere to put it. And I would really would like to know, where the bejesus were her parents? Where were the adults in the room? I can't fault my parents. I was in my 30s. But to someone her age, sounds like nobody was guiding her. And sometimes we can't say it's the parents' fault. Sometimes parents do try to say, I don't think you should do that. And depending upon the type of relationship the parent and the child have with each other, depending upon how willing the child is to listen to the parent, a lot of factors play into that. But this isn't all about, seasonal depression. The physical, mental health changes, it's about the debt. Because I can kind of guarantee you that when she was out kicking it with her sorority sisters during college, this wasn't happening. At least not to this extent.
And that is a hard thing to grasp. And also, debt is really hard. It's a hard thing, and like a lot of people struggle with it. So it's not just me coming on here. Like I'm very grateful and I am privileged, and there's a lot of things.
No. Okay. I understand. She's saying privileged in that, she was able to go to school, go to the sorority, whatever. Okay, I get that part. But when it comes to the financial part, you were not privileged with debt information. And here's the thing, folks. I think that as the internet becomes, content creators, such as myself, and other people, guys, people are not going to be able to ride this crutch as much as, let's say, the millennials were. If you're one of the older millennials, okay, I don't think you can ride the crutch of, I didn't know. I had no idea. There is so much social media out there now about loans, and she's only 24, so she's not a millennial. She is Gen Z, okay? Gen Z is pretty adept at internet, pretty adept at social media, if I'm correct. I mean, she's on TikTok. So at some point, Gen Z and Alpha, okay, you got to stop blaming, saying, I just didn't know. I had no idea. But yet, I bet you can know where the latest TikToks are and who's trending and all of that. In other words, there comes a point, folks, where young people are not going to be able to say, well, it's because my parents didn't tell me. Or I didn't have any idea. It's all out on social media. It's all out there. Sometimes you just have to Google in. Is it a good idea to not check my student loan balance every month or every quarter?
Things that are going well in my life, but like that debt is still looming over my head, and that is a real thing.
And it's going to loom over your head for a very, very long time unless you marry someone really rich or hit the lottery. And I would not count on either of those, nor an inheritance.
I decided that this job was not worth staying at any longer because of how much it was impacting my mental health. I was crashing out all the time, and I really tried to stick it out, but I was just really starting to see no purpose in my life, even though it was helping me make those bare minimum payments. I have since put in my 2 weeks, and I'm going back to 2 part-time jobs that I've calculated out will make the same amount of money I make at this full-time job that I supposedly got with my degree. So I'm still going to make $41,600 and be able to make my bare minimum payments. But I am really worried about what I'm going to do in 11 months when I have to owe $1,800 just on Sallie Mae.
We got a problem here. I see a trend. The trend that I see is she quits a job when she no longer feels its purpose. I won't say that's a Gen Z thing to say, okay? When I just don't feel like it's matching my lifestyle and it's not giving me the zen that I want, I think it's time for me to bail. But we have a pattern here. We start something, we quit. We start something, we quit. How are you going to get yourself out of $250,000 of student loan debt? Yeah, I know it's not $250,000 now, but by the time you get done paying it and all the forbearance, and yeah, you'll have paid at least $250,000. But there's a pattern here. Quit a job, finds reasons not to take it, but it's affecting my mental health. It's not paying anyways. Guess what, honey? Just about any job you make right now isn't going to pay this bill. Because it's over 2,000 just for the student loan. Okay? If I remember correctly, it's about $2,000. You haven't even started the living yet. So if you're already feeling, heartbroken because you feel like all your work is going to pot, you're not gaining anything, this is the result of what happens when we run up a debt that is so high that in this case you can't go bankrupt on it. Otherwise, I tell you go bankrupt, but you can't. Not on student loan debt, you can't. And this is why they give it to young people unlimited. People want to know, how come you can't get a business loan, but you can get student loan debt? Because student loan debt is backed by the federal government. The business of the car wash that you want to have or the lemonade stand is not tax deductible. Therefore, it's not backed by the government. Therefore, your lemonade stand that you want a SBA, Small Business Administration loan on, you ain't going to get it. But hey, you want to take out, a couple $100,000 for a student loan, you can do it. But I do notice a pattern of she starts a job, then finds every reason to quit it. And I'm not being disrespectful towards mental health issues. Believe me, I understand them. But come on, honey, you're 24 years old. Don't want to say pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's kind of cliche, like I don't want to say that, okay? But I said it. But you're going to go quitting every job. And you could be working 2 jobs, and guess what? She could work 2 full-time jobs, and one of those jobs is just going to go to keep up on the bill.
I am putting this out there as kind of a way to warn people about looking into what your loans look like. Teach yourself financial literacy. But I'm also putting this out there to ask, what's the best case scenario? I don't really know what to do, and I've been trying to do research. I don't want to get sued by Sallie Mae.
Sallie Mae is not going to sue you. Sallie Mae is not going to sue you because they can just keep raising the bill. That's all they have to do. You have to understand something. Okay, she's young. Sallie Mae is licking their chops. All right? They're licking their lips going, oh, we got a good one here, family. Because they're just going to keep on tacking on interest. When you say, what is there to do? Well, I can tell you the first thing is don't quit jobs. Don't find reasons as to why you should quit a job. You say you got mental health issues. It is the price that we sometimes pay for the stupid decisions that we make. This was a stupid decision. I've made stupid decisions. What do? You hope you have a really good relationship with your parents. You say, Mom, Dad, can I move in for the next 10 years? Will I pay off $250,000? Again, I'm aware it's not actually $250,000, but come on, folks. Let's get honest here, okay? That she said she was able to work her payments down, at least on one bill, down to $1,000. But guess what? That's not even meeting the interest. And once you look at it really logically, this $2,000 bill, folks, if the $2,000 a month payment for student loans, if $200 a month is going to interest, I think that's kicking it. So what is there to do? Cry, and then move on, and see if maybe you go into public service. You've heard me say that lots of times. Go into public service, see if you can get a teaching job. I would not apply at this moment for the federal government, nor would I rely on them. I'm not even sure you can rely on teaching jobs, but that might be a good case scenario.
It's hard to find a job. I don't really want people coming out here being like, well, just go find a higher paying job. You were silly to drop down to 2 part-time jobs. That is not the advice I'm looking for.
Okay, right? Okay. Everybody just halt. That's not the advice I'm looking for. Then you aren't really looking to solve your problem. You're not really looking for advice. Because the things that you're hearing from people you don't like. And by the way, I've got a photo I'm going to show of her right after this is done. Because, you see, at first, I have to be honest, I start out going, okay, little pat and love, and we understand we make a mistake. But then her personality, right about here, starts to turn a little. Okay? You say that's not the advice. You're going to people, you are going to social media in a 9-minute video saying basically what you did, what was wrong, it's astronomical to your budget, it's affecting your health. Then you go to people and say, how do I get out of this? They start telling you what your mistakes were. See, to get out of something financially, I can't just give you the solution of how to get out. I also need to teach you what you did wrong to get into it. Because the only way you can get out of something is to learn what you did wrong and try not to repeat it. People who simply want, just shut up and give me the solution. Nah. That's not the way it works. No. Sorry for the passion. But as someone who has been there, all right, you'll learn. And so she says, that's not what I want. I don't want to hear what I did wrong. Well, you need to hear it, because there is no way you can get yourself better without first hearing what is wrong. It's like going to the freaking doctor and saying, I don't feel good. And the doctor says, well, you have this. And nah, doc, I do not want to hear it. Just give me the freaking drug and let me get better. It doesn't work that way in medicine, and it certainly doesn't work that way in your finances. So what she has shown me, not just in that part about, I don't want to hear that. She quits. She closes her ears off. Okay? She closes her mind down. Just saying. All right? She didn't like the idea of working one full-time job. You should have worked one full-time job instead of 2 part-time jobs. But I suspect you worked 2 part-time jobs because it was easier and less intense than working one full-time job. But yet one full-time job could have given you a stepping stone that was perhaps to another full-time job. You see? A better job. But instead, she's at this stage where she's trying to find the easiest way to earn money without having to do anything. And it hurts when somebody says to you, you should not have done that.
I'm looking for a best way to knock out my loans and start paying them off faster.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. This 58-year-old is going to tell you, okay? Option 1, you live at home. Like I said, pray your parents get along with you really well. They pay for your entire cost of living. Well, every dime you make in a job and a half, I won't say 2 full-time jobs because I'm actually kind of against that. I think that's too much. A job and a half for a young whippersnapper, and every dime you make, short of your basic necessities of living, goes to the student loan or whatever your bills are, okay? Your student loan, car, whatnot, credit cards. That's option 1. Option 2, you now need to go into, you have a bachelor's degree, so you don't need a master's. You now need to go into a teaching job, okay? And you become a teacher for the next 10 years. Well, you seek, hopefully, if loan forgiveness is still around, it will be, at least for now. You go into the PSLF program, Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and you become a teacher for the next 10 years, and you get to navigate your way around that. Do you like those 2 solutions? Oh, you don't like them? Oh, okay. I just told you the fastest way to do it, legally. See, this is something when us older, when us Gen X people look at younger people, okay, and I know it's a little bit of a stereotype, so just bear with me here for a minute, okay? And they want their problem solved now. They want the solution now. They don't want to wait 3 weeks for that book. They want it from Amazon now, and they want it, by the time they get home. They want this money solution solved now. Doesn't work that way. And sweetie, you're a candidate to have this for decades and decades, especially if you close your ears to everything, especially if you decide that, you don't want to hear what people say because it doesn't jive with your expectations of just help me get rid of this debt.
With what I have, I'm making the bare minimum payments and a little bit more, and that's basically all of my income, and I'm looking for other ways to make extra money. So if I have to start door dashing as well, I'm going to go back to a job where I'll also be making tips. All of that's going to go towards what. is the best way? Should I attack the ones that are high interest first? Should I go after the ones that are the smallest? Like, I'm genuinely curious, best way to knock out these loans, because I'm trying to be debt free. There was a time in my life where all I wanted was to make a ton of money. I don't care.
You went in the wrong direction for that.
Financial freedom to me looks like being debt free.
No. It does not look like being debt free. It is debt free. That is financial freedom. Debt free is financial freedom. It's not kind of, sort of, it is.
I would love, and I'm not saying this is possible, but I don't think it's impossible either. I would love to be out of debt by the time I'm 30.
You ain't going to be out of debt by the time you're 30. You won't. How do I know? Look at your past. Look at your past history of debt. You are 24 years old. Look at the responses you apparently have said to people when you didn't like it. That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear the fastest way to do this. Honey, there is no fast way. This is 2 condos. 2 of my condos. 100,000 each. Okay? I mean, I bought 1 condo, okay? But respectively, it would be if I'd basically bought 2 condos. There is no fast way out of this. And anybody who tells you there's a fast way out of this, they're giving you pipe dream. I got a bridge to sell you. There is no fast way out of this. This is going to be hard.
6 years from now. I have a lot of debt. I don't know how possible that is, but I would have to put all my money towards it.
Right. And who's going to sustain your living while all the money is going towards the debt? Who's going to pay that cost? Your friend's going to pay it? Are your parents in a position to pay it? Something tells me no, because of the fact that you had to take on the debt to begin with. I could be wrong. But I don't know many people that are going to say, hey, here's a room, a bed, electric, food, everything you need while you pay off your $188 debt. So this is why I say, parents are your best bet.
I've not made good financial choices. Like, I'm literally going on a trip in April. Like, I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that, but that's aside the case.
Oh, so she's going on a trip in April, and you're on social media saying, how do I get out of this debt and fast? Cancel your trip. Okay, it's March right now? April. This is all current. So yeah, cancel your April trip. Oh, you don't like that idea. So I guess I fall into one of those categories of, don't tell me that. That's not what I want to hear. That's not what I'm looking for. You see, this is why there ain't no way in bejesus you're getting out of debt in 6 years. Here. Let's take a look at this. For the last 6 years, I've been a teacher. For the last 6 years, I've made, high 50s, low 60s. Okay? I couldn't get myself out of $110,000 worth of debt in 16 years as a single school teacher. And I work a little part-time side job. Not a lot of hours, about 10 hours a week, okay? But, I have that little side gig. I couldn't get out of it. Paying for my cost of living, modestly, driving, modestly, like I drive a Corolla, okay? I couldn't get myself out of it. You got almost 2 times the debt that I'm holding on less of the income. And you're insisting on taking a trip in April. So I guess that's in just a couple weeks. The inability for you to sacrifice what makes you happy, whether it's going on a trip, taking, quitting a job or 2 or 3, this is why you are not going to get out of it in 6 years.
That is aside the case. The point...
No, it's not beside the case. It is the case. That's like me saying, when I was trying to pay off this condo, that'd be like me saying, I want to pay off this $50,000 mortgage that I have, but I want to keep traveling. I don't want to stop spending money the way that makes me happy. So I'm going to still take these trips and I'm still going to spend money in a way that makes me happy. But I want to pay off this condo so badly. I slept on a 14-year-old mattress so I could pay off this condo. And I told myself I'd had the mattress since almost as long as I'd been married. Okay? And it was 14 years old. I'm very, very clean and tidy, so it was fine. Okay? But still, I don't, in the future, I don't expect to keep a mattress past 10 years. But I slept on a 14-year-old mattress on the floor. Just put it on the floor, had my 14-year-old mattress, okay? because I was so determined that I was going to pay off this condo. I was willing to take whatever sacrifices it took. And let me tell you, I think within a month of the condo being paid off, I ordered myself a brand new mattress from Macy's. Pillow top plush. I love it. All right. Paid off, of course. But you see, on one hand, and we see this with a lot of people who are in debt, they screaming and crying and going to social media or whomever saying, help me get out of debt. But don't expect me to change this, or that, because those are not compromisable. Everything has to be compromisable when you want to get out of debt, with the exception of medical needs. That's not compromisable, in my opinion, okay? With the exception of medical. That's one of the areas you got to stay on that. But if it's just, I'm going to take this trip because I've worked so hard.
Is I can make the bare minimum right now, and I know that I could make more if I need to.
So why are you not making more? And you keep talking about the bare minimum, honey. You base. I'll just move on.
Despite going on this trip in April.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about that. I'm still making choices. But
Right. You're still making bad choices, and you're on social media saying, help me. And by the way, I'm going to pay off this $188,000 in 6 years.
I want to find out a way that I can get out of debt. I'm trying.
All right. I've had enough of this. Okay. Now then, this is the first part here. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a follow-up with her. Okay. And it's actually a music video that she played. It was just a video of her, holding something. So, I can't play the music because TikTok music drives me nuts. Okay. But this was the second thing. And this is where I hate to be honest, but I'm going to be. If I had any respect for her and her situation and sympathy, this changed everything. So this is her giving people the middle finger, which for social purposes, because of YouTube rules, I cannot show it. I think we all know what it looks like. I've put a Band-Aid over it. This was her follow-up. And again, this is all very current because, she's going on a trip in April, and she says on this one especially, she's talking about the middle finger. This one especially goes out to the haters who have a lot to say about my college debt because I just got accepted into my Dream Masters program. I think that's something, I want to know if that was MBA or something like that. I can't remember. Okay, I genuinely can't remember. But I believe her bachelor's was something that most of us would not consider, it was not a STEM degree from what I am aware of, okay? Meaning it was probably more liberal arts leaning. Okay, I can't remember if it was an MBA or something like that. All right, this is where everything changed, in my opinion. Young lady. First off, and I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this to you from my perspective of being 57. Okay, you got into your Dream Masters program, and it's not going to cost you anything. Again, I was on her TikTok page. Okay, it's not going to cost her anything. Great. So now what I see is this: you're going to be a couple more years out of school. Yet you've still never held a professional job. In other words, it kind of strikes me as, we all know people like this. They have all these great big dreams, things that they want to accomplish, but they have no idea how to get there. When they ask for ideas on how to get there, they don't like the answer, so then they go do something else. So you're getting your master's, and I know because I actually talked to her very briefly on TikTok, okay? Very, very, very briefly, all right? And she did tell people that this master's degree isn't costing her anything. And I'm going to give some tough love here. Who cares? You're becoming a professional student. This is what they call a professional student. But there's a major problem here. You lack professionalism. Why? Because you're giving people the finger. Why would you take all this time to go to school, get a degree or two, to simply give social media, your haters, the finger? And who are your haters? I'm sure you probably see me as a hater. That's totally cool with me. Okay, I teach middle school. All right. They may hate, but I tell them they still have to learn. Okay, hate, learn, hate. I don't care what it is. Okay. You still got to learn. I'm still going to teach you. Why would you go on social media, the world being what it is today, to give people the finger? In other words, what you're showing is you are going to become a book smart student, but you do not have the professionalism to match it. Now, I'm going to show you what I consider to be professionalism. So let me just go down here. Hold on here. Let me go down here. And I did this to the federal, it was the federal layoffs 3 video that I did last week. And this lady exudes professionalism in every way. She's getting laid off. She could have given the middle finger. She could have had the smirk on her face. And instead, she does this. We're just going to watch about 10 seconds of it, maybe 30.
Into this wonderful, wonderful teammate has been nothing short of a true pleasure.
I don't ever look at things like this as like it's happening to me. It's more so happening for me.
Now, that is professionalism under stress. She's getting laid off from her federal job. It's professionalism. Now, I would like you to compare that to this. If you are a hiring manager, okay, and this is something a lot of you young folks are not considering. You are a hiring manager. Your picture is out and about amongst social media. If you have a choice, and the candidates are equal in talent, respect, as far as, their skills, and it really comes down to who do they simply like? This or this?
So again, I'm sorry.
Which one would you pick? This is not flattering. And it just blows my mind why people feel the need to do this. So basically, you are a 24-year-old or newly turned 24 with nearly $200,000 in debt. You claim that you want help, but clearly you don't. You now have your, scholarship to go get your master's degree. I wouldn't hire you. I can tell you that the people that I know that have hired in both my professional and personal life, if they saw this, I know when I was married, we had a business. We wouldn't hire somebody, okay? My ex-husband did the hiring, okay? But if he had shown me this photo and said, should I hire these people? I said no. And here's why. You have the inability to show grace. You have the inability to show humility. Great that you got this master's degree, that you're getting this all paid for. But now you will be, my average master's degree is 2 years, maybe 3. I think most of them are around 2. So now you're going to be a 26, 27-year-old who's never worked a professional job. And when you do go looking for a professional job, this is what you give. These pictures, young people, matter. They may not matter to you now because you think you be all cool. They matter. They matter when you go for a job interview. And there's something else you have to remember. Not everybody likes you. I remember a boss told me that decades ago. Okay, because I was still at the very fragile stage. I was in my very early 20s, one of my very first early jobs, and I was just trying so hard to make everybody like me. And I'll never forget. It was one of those things that you just never forget it. And he sat me down. He said, and I quote, I will remember this to my dying day, okay? He said, Carrie, it's okay if everybody doesn't like you. And I remember just thinking, really? Because we all work so hard to be liked. He goes, no, he goes, it's okay. But what they do need, what you want them to have, is respect for you. Okay? This is in the workplace. And I look at this photo. This doesn't cut it. So you're going to go for another couple years getting your master's degree. Let's see. What else I wanted to just say really quickly. But why would you risk your future on a photo like this? You're going to bust your butt, I assume, on this master's degree. Now, she says she's also going to work some more jobs. Okay, go for it. But when all is said and done, this is the image that you left your audience with.
76-year-old Yvonne Evans has been trying to pay off student loans for nursing courses she took at Southside Virginia Community College over 30 years ago.
Let this sink in, people. Just inhale and exhale. 30 years ago. Now, this story ran 5 months ago. Where were you 30 years ago? Some of you may not have even been born yet 30 years ago. Just, take a slow breath on that. 30 years ago.
The loan gonna be here when I'm dead and gone. There's no way I can pay it off. I'm not working now. Oh, stack over here, let's see.
Her original balance from 1989 was around $5,500 and has ballooned to nearly $35,000 with interest.
Okay, so it's ballooned to $35,000 with interest. Now let me think about where I was. She said the original loan for $5,000, she took it out in 1989. In 1989, that was the year I graduated from the University of Oregon at the age of 21. I am now 57. So I was 21 when she took this loan out for $5,000. Now remember, it may be easiest for, say, $5,000. I mean, why does that seem so hard? Well, I guess I could ask myself the same thing. Why did $85,000 seem so hard? I had 16 years to pay it off and I still could not. Because you have to think in terms of the income at that time and what her living situation was at that time. You also have to remember this, family. You have to remember student loans, the one debt that is socially okay for the most part, okay? It is the one debt that you are told, and wrongly so, in my opinion, you are told it is good debt. You are told that everybody takes out this debt. You are told it's okay. Go ahead and take it out. We all do it. Never mind, okay, that we're not looking at the financial situation we're in right now and the situation that we could be in. At the time I had $85,000 student loan, I was married. So what was a big deal for a $400 or $500 a month payment? Changed drastically, however, when you become a household of one.
Evans now has to pay more than 6 times her original loan amount.
I get these every month. Every month. I want to feel a value and pay my bills, but I'm just at a standstill. I never thought this would happen to me for almost 13 years, taking care of my mom. I didn't ask anybody for anything. But now, I pray so hard, it just looked like my prayers are not being answered. And I just don't know what to do.
So, something that I didn't consider, okay, and that is when you take out a student loan, and you have, let's say it's set up for 10, 20 years, or even 25 years. I mean, think about this, folks. We got student loans that are set up for 20, 25-year payments. You don't know what the future is going to look like. And this is why you hear me say all the time on this channel, do not budget future income, all right, on what you're making what you're making right now. Don't try to predict and budget future income because you don't know what your financial situation is going to be. You just don't know. She's had this student loan. Geez, think of everything you've gone through the last 30 years. Were you even alive? Were you even alive? Depending upon what age you fall in the millennial and Gen Z bracket. I can pretty much assure you she did not take out these loans with the intentions to default on them. I can even tell you that when I went and got my second master's degree, I already had a $45,000 student loan. Yeah, I wasn't thinking very smart. I already had a $45,000 loan for a University of Phoenix degree, which I know it's questionable whether, the degree's any good. Technically it is, but still, all right? But I had a $45,000 student loan already, but I didn't stop to think, why am I going back to school to get a master's to be a teacher when the district will cover my courses? The district will pay for it. I could go on a 3-year teach to earn. I could have done that. There were other alternatives. But why did I want a master's so badly? Because I wanted to be really, really skilled. And I felt that getting a master's degree would make me more skilled than if I simply went through district courses. You see, it's that type of passion and dedication that sinks us in the end. Now, I will say, it does seem that the amount was $5,000 in the realm of student loans, even back for that time. All right, because like I said, I was 21. 5,000 would not be an impossible amount to get out of. It really doesn't. But I remind the court that part of the problem and why student loans drag on for so long, like I said, it's the one loan that we excuse. We allow it to hang around. Oh, it's okay if you can't pay this month. We'll defer it. We'll put it in forbearance, which, by the way, for those of you that are experienced with student loans, you know that when you do that, that doesn't stop the interest. So what happens is this little $5,000 loan is maybe she needs just a little, tie it over till the next, couple of months, and she puts it in forbearance, and pretty soon, before you know it, that forbearance and deferment, if you're not careful, you have built a new lifestyle, forgetting that your student loans are around. Which also makes you wonder how many, with the student loan ramp ending in just days, folks, in just days, the student loan on-ramp is ending, the interest starts October 1st. How many people right now have student loans that worth 4 years ago, when the student loans were stopped? Let's think about it. I'm showing you how she got into this situation. Let's think of the student loans from 4 years ago, and everybody was told, stop, you don't have to pay it. How many people have built a lifestyle that does not include their student loan payment? Yet, over the last 4 years, if they had really wanted to pay it off, they could have. This is how it happens. It's for another video later, but I worry, having had my own student debt and how impossible it was to pay off, because I couldn't pay it off. You guys, the taxpayers, paid it off. But I understood that I was going to go into retirement with it. I was going to be this lady. But how many people over the last 4 years could have seriously tackled and paid off their student loan that were not in public service? Okay, I was in public service. But people who are not in public service could have done it if they had really, really wanted, to really go gung-ho at it. But they chose not to. And now they're staring down the barrel of a bigger student loan. It's just something to think of. This is how this lady got into it. What was once manageable, $5,000. And it really, like I said, it seems like a balance that you could pay off. Even if you're broke down and all of that, but life starts to happen and you find a way to, give it a forbearance, a deferment, then you build your new life around it. It's one of the many ways that a student loan bill can grow.
What I'm holding in my hand is my diploma.
Evans was eventually able to earn her bachelor's and master's degrees for free at other Virginia universities thanks to the Brown v. Board of Education Scholarship Program, which was created by Virginia's legislature in 2004. It was given to students locked out of Virginia schools when districts closed to avoid court-ordered desegregation laws in the 1950s and 60s. But Evans hasn't been able to use the degrees she earned over the years because she had to become a full-time caregiver for relatives who were having health issues. Most recently, she's had a hard time finding work while helping care for her grandkids, yet she still gets monthly student loan bills.
You would think there would come a point where the student loan company would say, just give it up. But here's why the student loan company will never do that. Who is the student loan company? It's the federal government. The federal government will follow you straight to the grave. And there are people who think that if they hold on to the bill long enough, there are people who think that if they hold on to a student loan bill long enough, okay, we're talking federal loans. Private's a whole different matter, but really pretty much the same rules go for private, okay? But there are people who think if they hold their federal student loan bill just long enough that eventually, it'll be wiped out, because after all, you've had it for so long. No, it's by the federal government. They will follow you straight into, the pearly gates.
There's this huge mindset about go to college and make yourself better, and this will be good for you and all this sort of thing. And
how many millennials have heard that? How many Gen Zers have heard that? Go to school, take on the debt. This is good debt. Everybody has to do this. You can't get ahead without it. Never mind that there are community colleges you could go to and then go to an in-state school. Never mind there are trade schools you could go to for a quarter of what you would pay to go to a university, if not even less than that.
Then people wind up in debt, huge amounts of debt, and worse off.
Around 20% of students who enroll in Virginia colleges drop out within the first year, often with debt and earning low wages.
And you still owe on the student loans as if you had gotten the degree. There are people who don't know this, and I don't fault them for not knowing it. There were things I didn't know.
Jay Spear has been helping Virginians with various types of debt for 24 years at the Virginia Poverty Law Center. He says the collection tactics associated with student debt can be intimidating and overwhelming.
There's actually been a pretty long history of student debt collection being much harsher than any other kind of debt collection. If your only income is Social Security, no debt collector can take your bank account or garnish your Social Security money except the federal government if you owe them for a student loan.
There's another type of student debt.
And also the federal, I can't remember if they say it in this report, if it's just something I thought of, but the federal government doesn't have to have a court order, to wage garnish you. Where if you owe Citibank, MasterCard, whatnot, they have to take you to court, they have to get a judgment, yada, yada. No, the federal government can just, one day you wake up and your bank account is cleared out. One day you wake up and your paycheck is, cleared out, your Social Security, not literally cleared out, but, the 15% or more that they owe you. Also, keep this in mind. If you, if you are with someone who is in default on their student loan, married to each other or not, you're with someone who is in default on your student loan, and you share a bank account with them, just like any other creditor can do, okay? They can pull out of your joint account. In other words, if you are with someone, married or not, okay, and that person you have an account with is behind on their student loan, or behind on any other debt for that matter, all right? The debt follows whatever bank account that person is attached to, regardless of whether there are other people attached. This is why, if you're with someone who is delinquent on student loans, credit cards, car payments, whatever, there's a judgment formally by a court against them, or in the case of the federal government, they don't need a court order to have a judgment against you. They can just tap, tap, tap Mr. Bank of America and say, start withdrawing from the account. Your money is as good as gone as the person you're in a bank account with that owes the debt. Have to be really careful when you hold joint bank accounts, savings accounts, whatever. You hold a joint account, any sort of money account with someone who is in debt to a creditor, to the government, it's the risk you take. Otherwise, you definitely want to keep those accounts separate.
That can have an equally devastating impact much earlier in life, though it's not federal student loan debt. It's debt owed directly to colleges and universities, and often referred to as direct-to-school debt.
Pretty typically, the person left college for what anyone would think is a valid reason. They were sick, their mom was sick. Somebody told me once that they were being stalked. All kinds of things that I don't think anybody would fault them for leaving school.
I was stalked once years ago on, I won't say the location, but years ago I was stalked. We're talking like in my 20s. Let me tell you, that is scary.
They were just shocked when they came back later and tried to get their degree and found out that they either couldn't apply somewhere else because they weren't able to get their transcripts, or they weren't going to get credit. I mean, some really fairly heartbreaking stories.
A lot of students aren't aware that if you leave school for any reason, okay, and you haven't paid off that bill, yeah, they can hold your transcript. I read a story once. I'll see if I can find it. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. It was a while ago. I do a lot of reading on money stories, clearly, okay, and it was about a gal. I guess she wanted to become a teacher. She had everything done. She had completed all this stuff, but she couldn't get the school to release her transcript because she owed them money still. And it literally cost her more than one teaching job. I'll see if I can dig it up. I don't know if I can find it. It was a while back. But a lot of young people, you need to realize that, not job hopping, but school hopping can be very financially unwise, all right? Because if you leave a balance with that school can deny your transcript. And it's expensive taking classes twice and taking classes over again.
Salona Perkins was in foster care until age 16 and was solely responsible for paying for college. She had her transcript withheld from Virginia Commonwealth University in 2019. Because Salona's GPA was just shy of the required 2.0 at the end of her third semester, VCU sent her federal financial aid back to the federal government. This is a common reason students end up with direct-to-school debt. Perkins ended up with a balance of about $9,000 directly to VCU, not to mention an additional $2,000 in collection fees.
And to not have a degree. So apparently she fell just short of what you need to graduate.
Not being able to finish my courses at VCU did take a toll on me mentally. You have all your friends who have succeeded and you just feel left out.
This may be a difficult thing for some people to have to face, but if you have a 2.0 GPA, you might not be ready for college yet. Doesn't make you a bad person, okay? But if you have a 2.0 GPA, I can kind of bet, I may be wrong, but I can kind of bet you may have struggled in high school as well. It's just a thought.
You have to drop all your courses, you have to move out, you have to move back into your parents' house, and your freedom that you once had is gone. So it did take a toll on me mentally. Not only that, I had to figure out a way how I'm gonna pay $9,000 back with the jobs I go to every day. It was just a lot emotionally and mentally. I was only 19, 20, and I felt like I was in some sort of midlife crisis.
We put on young people the stresses that even adults can't take on. I mean, I was in my 30s when I got my master's degree, both of them, and I couldn't figure out how to do it correctly. So we're asking 18 and 19-year-olds to take on these type of responsibilities. This is why there needs to be an adult in the room. And even some of us adults, at the time, I was not qualified. I'm more than qualified to lead people now, how to navigate, student loans and all of that. But at the time, at 34, no, I absolutely was not. All right, we're going to go ahead and fast forward this. They talk about Congress and all the legal stuff and that kind of, not that it bores me, but it kind of does. So we're going to go towards the end here. We're going to pick up the story about the lady who is 76, and she's at 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Hold on here just a second. All right, let's take it back. Here we go.
For Yvonne Evans, the student loans that have been hanging over her head for over 30 years still cause sleepless nights.
76 years old, and she still can't put her head on a pillow and just go to sleep. This is not worth the stress of school. Nothing is worth this stress. Not even a career choice that you can't afford is worth this stress. This is 76.
I have lost so much sleep with this loan.
And something to remember, folks, they're taking out 15% of her Social Security, disability. I think in this case she has her Social Security. 15% may not seem like a lot, but it actually is, especially the tighter your budget is. Okay, 15% for the rest of your life. And don't forget, that bill keeps going up and up and up. All right, but I think the most they can take out is 15%. At least I think once you're in your retirement years. Okay, but still, just the whole idea, and it scares me at times. I mean, I feel so lucky and so incredibly fortunate that I was a teacher. But come on, folks, it took me 16 years of a 10-year PSLF, Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, to get my student loan forgiven. Because who was it? Fed loan was so messed up with how the system operated. It took 16 years for me to get the 10 years of qualifications. And this is why, people, you got to be careful. Do not assume that just because you're like, oh, you know what, I'm going to go take out this big student loan debt because it'll be cleared off in 10 years after public service. You may have to spend 12, 13, 14 years of public service to get it cleared, because there may be confusions and complications, and Lord knows what happens with whomever happens to be in the White House at the time. There are a lot more things to factor than just 10 years. And don't forget, that's 10 years of actively being in the job and making student loan payments. It's not one or the other. Somebody asked, I think somebody asked me if I would walk you guys through on how to do the employer verification form, from top to bottom. I'll do that. I may not get to that till Thanksgiving break, to be honest. But yeah, look for that on this channel. I will walk you through, maybe even sooner than later. Okay, I'll try. I'll try to push it up on the list, but that's to basically sit down with you at the computer, just like we're doing, and I will literally walk you through the instructions of how to do the the employer verification form. If you think you'd be interested in that, let me know in the chat. Okay.
And it just looked like God has given me some kind of relief as to stop worrying. Because I really have lost a lot of sleep worrying about this loan, and I just don't worry about it anymore. If I want to continue to get older, then I need to stop worrying.
But Evans is not worried about her grandson.
I am very, very proud of my grandson. My second grandchild is going to college for engineering, and he won't have to pay anything, nothing at all. And I am so happy about it. He's got several scholarships, and I am so proud of him.
So she's going to use what she's learned about student loans and make sure that the next generation doesn't get into the same trouble she was in. Folks, all we can do is live and learn from our experiences, and hopefully we can live and learn from other people's experiences as well. Once again, welcome to my new subscribers. I'm so glad you're on board. Of course, thank you so much, the original 1,000. All right, we are 25,000 strong and growing. I will see you guys. Don't forget Thursday night we live stream, but I'll see you guys early this week. All right, have a great night, folks. My time is up, and so is yours. Good night, everyone.
Both of your 100,000s have doubled, and now you owe 400,000. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's that sounds right.
How much?
No. It's not. It sounds right. It's really simple. Even I, counting on my fingers, can figure out it's 400,000. But like I said, the title says 500,000. It's moments like these that I realize my day isn't so bad after all. Any troubles you might have had today, family, it has just now been swept away.
Time, I'm just curious.
So we got our associates, which took like 2 years, and then finished a bachelor's, which was 2.5, closer to 3 years, just like how the semesters worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But it doubled in that amount of time?
Yep. So over the course, I don't know exact specifics of my wife's, but
okay.
Myself, and it seems like a bunch of people that I know, they're in the same with
it's
the interest rate.
It's because your payment isn't covering the interest, and so your loan is not moving. You're paying payments, but your loan is not moving.
Remember what I've told you guys. Okay, if you're doing income-based payments, you gotta start thinking of student loans like credit cards. They just simply say student loan on the front. That's the only difference. And they're worse than credit cards because you can't go bankrupt on them. For him to have had this loan for so long, and he's sitting there and he's going, well, other people I know have this. You see, this is what I've told you. What partly allows us to excuse the ongoing debt when people say, how come student loans can take so long? Why is it that we can get ourselves out of a $300,000 house and get that paid off in 30 years, but a student loan that can be half of that just seems to take forever? Well, part of it, folks, is because we socially, at least here in the United States, with our rather messed up funding for education, we excuse it. We simply say, well, see, everybody else is in this debt because everybody else takes out student loan debt, so we can take it out too. And if you're one of those people and you get suckered into minimum payments, just like a credit card, if you make the minimum payment, does it ever pay off the credit card? No, it does not. You must make that minimum payment, which needs to reach the interest, and then go even above that to get into the principal. $500,000.
Totally
right.
smart.
So my minimum payment is $2,800 and something, and that's only I did the math, and I'm only it's only only 500 of that is going towards the principal.
Yeah.
Yes, family. Did we hear that? And that's his half. $2,800. $2,800. And only $500 going to the actual bill, the actual amount of money that you borrowed, which means more than $2,000 is going to what? Just what he said, interest. Now I want you to take that figure and I want you to times it by 2. Oh, by the way, it's not your imagination. I did get my hair trimmed. Thank you. Just in case you're like, why does she look a little different? That's why. Had about 4 inches whacked off. Okay, now then, back on track. So, hey, just keeping up, all right? So here's the thing. This is why I tell you over and over. I worry so much when people go and get debts that are well over 100,000. Once you hit 100,000, and you've heard me, family, you've heard me say it many times on this channel, okay? Once you hit over 100,000 or near, okay, you're playing with the $100,000 mark. You got a plan about $1,000 a month, rock bottom, for every 100,000. So he's saying, if you take this, it says 500,000, okay? But let's just take what the caller's saying, 200,000, right? So what is that? It's about 200,000 plus he says it's 2,800. So my estimation of 1,000 is even low. That's not even getting him out. This is why, you got to ask yourself, okay, if I run up $100,000 student loan, let's take it down to 100,000. Do you have $1,000 every 4 weeks to give away? Do you have $1,000? And you can sit there and go, oh, well, I'm going to get it once I get my job, but you don't have that job yet. Do you have $1,000 minimum for every $100,000 that you borrow? And if you don't have $1,000, are you willing to work 2 jobs to get it? If you are going to college without assistance, I am telling you, stay away from the 6-figure loan bill as far as you can. I mean, just walk away from it. That is my personal opinion. After having my student loan for 16 years, I couldn't get rid of it. It went from 85 to 110 until the awesome taxpayers paid it off in 2020. But of course, I've put in 16 years of teaching, and I'm now in my 19th year of teaching. $2,800. So let's put that in some perspective. My entire cost of living is about $1,800. And that includes a good $500 food budget. That's my entire cost of living. So for them to have this student loan and it's doubled, well, they may have been naive in understanding, just how it works as far as the interest. There's got to be a part of you, especially when you're talking almost $500,000 here, okay? There's got to be a part of you that goes, this just doesn't make sense that I can only pay, a couple thousand a month and you expect the bill to go away. This bill's never going to go away. I won't say never, but it's not going to go away for a long while. And this is his half.
Exactly.
So
okay.
$2,300 is going to interest.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about
that's right, $4,300, because it's between the two of them. Think about what your household budget is. All right. Now, assuming you're just everyday Susie and Johnny Q like I am. All right. Think about your household budget. $4,300 just to go to interest. What is that per year? Oh my God, it's like 40,000 plus.
About listen, this is a lot of debt. We're going to help you out. Tell me about you guys' income, because I'm hoping that you've got some jobs that are paying.
Yeah, so I'm a pharmaceutical rep. I make like my base, I make about 130.
Okay.
But I am projected I should make over 300 this year.
Okay, what about your wife? Excellent.
Now, you know how I feel about projections. Again, this just ran 4 days ago. I don't like projections. And when I worked myself into debt freedom and all that wonderful stuff, I didn't do any of it on projections because you just don't know. I did it on what I actually had. In fact, I not only did it on what I had, I did it on what I had, and then what would happen if a little bit more of it went away. I didn't do, I project that he's basically projecting he's going to make 3 times the income. He doesn't know that. You don't know it until you actually get it. And here's the sad part. If they're paying over $4,000 a month just for interest, how much, and I'm not good enough at math to do this in my head, okay? Because I don't listen to these calls in advance. I listen to them with you guys, all right? But how much would you have to make in salary just to cover the interest alone on the student loan? I'm thinking that would require a six-figure salary just to cover the interest. I mean, think about $4,000, 4, 8, 12, 6. Oh my God, he's paying 20 grand every 5 months. My Toyota Corolla Hybrid that I purchased spring 2024, that is now paid off. I paid off in 9 payments. He could buy himself a brand new Toyota Corolla Hybrid like every 6 months. That's how much money he's paying just towards interest.
My wife, she stays home with our daughter, and she's currently pregnant again, so she'll be just a stay-at-home mom with our children.
She can't afford, excuse me, Jade, she cannot afford to be a stay-at-home mother. Wow, now look, I am not here to tell people how to family plan, but we can learn from the situation and ask ourselves, is this the situation we would want to be? Okay, honey, so we clearly are running near, might as well just make it $500,000 in student loan debt, okay? We're running near $500,000 in student loan debt. So instead of you working, and me working, we're just gonna have another child, you stay at home. This is going to be a runaway train. And if he thinks his $300,000 projected income is going to save them, no, it's not. Because we have to remember, she doesn't work. So you got to take that income, divide it by half. So let's just go out into la land, and let's say he does make the $300,000. Okay, great. Let's split that over 2 adults. That's $150,000 each. Take away taxes. Okay, now think in terms of how much their student loan debt is. Just one of their incomes alone would have to go pay towards the entire student loan debt. But these people don't sound like they do a whole lot of financial planning. I personally would not be having a stay-at-home spouse and a new baby on top of $400,000 debt. This is going to be a runaway train.
Well, let's see about that. So what was her career before she stayed at home with the kids?
She was an office manager for a dental surgeon.
Okay.
Wait a minute. How do you run up a two? Okay, she went to school and got herself into a $100,000 loan. So how do you go to school, run up a $100,000 loan, and you become an office manager for a dental surgeon? That doesn't require a $100,000 college degree. Wow. I see an incredible amount of wasted money.
Okay. And what did she earn doing that?
Probably like 45.
Is that what her $100,000 degree was for?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Time and time again we run into this. You mean to tell me to be a dental office manager in a job that pays 40, 45, let's give it 50,000. She ran up a $100,000 degree, and then she decided that she's going to become a stay-at-home mom. They're not going to pay enough to even cover the interest of the degree. Now she's got a $200,000 degree bill, and this one dude, what's his name? Luke in Atlanta, Georgia. Why is everything always happening out of Atlanta? Between Atlanta and Florida, okay, you really get a pulse on the debt of the economy. So this dude, Luke in Atlanta, believes that he can, let's put this in reality, afford a wife, a new baby, an already born baby, all their living costs, and $400,000 in student loans. Yeah, sure.
So there is a part of this equation, we'll get to it in a minute. There is a very real part of this equation where she would be working in order to help out with this, and there might be a daycare situation there because you guys have a lot of debt. I was hoping that you were going to say you made $300 and your wife made $200. You making $300 is really, really good, but
he doesn't make $300. He is projecting he makes $300. And if his projections are anything like their debt and family planning, I wouldn't put a whole lot of weight into it.
just the $400,000 in student loans. I'm guessing there's debt other places as well. Am I right?
No, we rent. I have a car.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Like payment. I just I put 0 down. I have the good credit.
Yeah, but tell me, what do you owe on
credit
it?
cards. It's what I owe on it. I think I owe like $28,000.
Okay, what about your?
You don't have money for a car. You don't have money for a $28,000 car. That is not driving a hoopty. Dave Ramsey says you should be driving a hoopty. So so remember, family, we're just ching, 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 all this up, okay? Got the wife, got the new baby coming. We got because she's got one baking in the oven. God bless its soul. All right. Then he's already got a kid. He's got the $400,000 student loan and growing, which, as we know now, just to cover the interest is $4,000 a month. Oh, sweet Jesus. God dang. Okay. Let's put this in another perspective. Okay. I like to put things in perspective. Okay. That is 2 months of my living. You could add up all my living costs for 2 months. I'm not eating out, all right? Maybe an occasional Culver's, and that's about it, okay? But if I were to take it down, okay? That is his $4,000 a month payment. Actually, it's more than $4,000, okay? Probably closer, I think, to about $4,500 or so. His $4,000 a month payment just to cover his student loans is 2 months of my entire living costs. 2 months. That includes my medical, my dental insurance, my vision insurance, includes my auto insurance. Okay, I have no car, I have no student loan, I have no mortgage. Oh, it includes my HOA at $450 a month. It includes my property taxes. Oh yeah. That's how much student loan debt he has. He almost seems a little too relaxed about it.
Your wife's car.
It's paid for.
Okay, anything else? Credit cards, HELOCs? Tell me any other debt you have, because it plays into this.
Just student loans, and then just my car.
Okay, so
doesn't that sound reassuring? Just the student loans, just the $400,000 in student loans.
the 428 is what we're looking at. You're making 300. So
okay, we're just gonna let this slide, but he's not making 300. Let's remember this, okay? He's projected.
So this is kind of like the person who makes $60,000 a year but owes 160, right? The ratio is the same. So there is going to be a level of sacrifice if you want to get out of this quickly. You could talk to my friends at Laurel Road. They offer student loan refinancing for high income earners. And so you have the opportunity that maybe you could get a lower payment at a lower rate. What's your rate right now, your interest rate?
So I have 12, is it 12 different loans? I think I have 12 because I went, I went like spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah.
And
but they're all different.
Anywhere from 11, they're anywhere from 11, to say 11 to like 14 and some change.
Listen,
so,
what a waste of money to have this amount of student loan debt, and you decide that you're not, because his wife is part of it, okay? You decide you're not going to work, to have this amount of student loan debt to be a freaking office manager, okay, which you could probably get with next to no experience, except, I've never heard of an office manager needing to have a $100,000 degree and then have it billed to 200. I mean, you just look at this and just what an incredible waste of money. And because it's one big bill, it's easy for Luke in Atlanta to sit and minimize the impact of this bill, but it's huge. This is a monstrosity of a bill. But he sees it as just one bill, and now they're sitting here having this lovely phone conversation, projecting his $300,000 income.
I talked to him because a lot of what they're offering is 5% and lower. So
if you have federal loans, if you have federal loans, don't transfer it. Because any hope you will ever have for loan forgiveness, if you should ever go into public education or anything else, this is a runaway debt. Mark my words, this is a runaway debt. It already is a runaway debt. We know it because it's doubled, as he said. So my question becomes this. If he could not pay it off when it was $100,000 each, what makes him think he's going to pay it off when it's now $200,000 each? See, it's so easy to sit and look and go, oh yeah, this is going to be easy peasy. But my thought is, but if you couldn't pay it off when the bill was smaller, what makes you think taking the bill and doubling it is going to make it any easier? And if he transfers it, if it should be federal loans, if he transfers it from federal to private, he needs to remember that any protection you might have, or any hope you might have, that's a bigger case, any hope you might have, any sort of forgiveness. He decides, this is a runaway bill, he's going to become a teacher for 10 years and get the loan forgiven. Because right now, assuming PSLF, public service loan forgiveness, isn't going anywhere. But once you take a bill that is federal and you make it become private, all hopes are dashed, zapped, or anything else, because you have now made it a private bill. This is why I don't recommend taking federal loans and making them private. I don't care what the interest savings rate is. It would have to be absolutely astronomical. And then there would have to be some guarantee that the interest would never change. But remember, once you make that federal loan private, you are literally at the mercy of the company. Now, you could turn around and say, well, yeah, we're at the mercy of the federal government. I get it. I know. But any chance of loan forgiveness under any program, under any administration, another pandemic, hold off the payment. People think that was for everybody, that they got to have that pandemic freeze, pause, on-ramp, and all of that stuff. No, that was only for federal loans. Private, you're dealing with the loan sharks more than you are already dealing with them under the federal government.
I would do that. I'm not saying that it'll happen and that you qualify, but I would definitely look into that.
I wouldn't touch it if it means going from federal to private.
Because for you, it sounds like you could actually be a good candidate for that. Because what I'm always looking for with student loans is a way to lower those minimum payments so that you can focus more of your freed up money on the smallest debt and knock it out. Because with these student loans, even though you have this grand amount, it's still, like you said, broken into a bunch of littler loans. So if you do the debt snowball, which is what we teach, you're listing all of those little loans from smallest to largest.
How long do you think it's going to take one dude to get out of nearly a $500,000 worth of debt? How long do you think it's going to take him to get out $500,000 worth of debt with a wife who doesn't work and a new baby and current baby and all their bills? I don't see it happening. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I see this being a complete runaway train. And I'm just going to go off of what I'm sensing. The wife isn't too interested in working. So if he goes home and he says, hey, honey, I just got off the Ramsey show and they're thinking you should work, maybe, a year after baby is born, she's going to say no. That's just what I'm striking. And the reason it strikes me is he's almost, I won't say nonchalant, but he's very casual about this amount of debt. So if he's this casual, I can only imagine his wife is as casual, if not more, about it.
And and knocking off the small
right.
ones, the bigger and the bigger.
That's right.
We actually in high school we did a Dave Ramsey, like our math class. We had the whole, we did took the whole Dave Ramsey course.
Yeah.
And
they didn't learn a thing from it.
So we already have we already have over 10,000 saved, but it.
Okay. Let's put in perspective what this $10,000 is in student loan payments. That will get you 5 months of interest covered. $10,000 will give you 5 months of interest. And in their case, yes, they do need a $10,000 savings account because, you never know what's going to happen to their living situation or whatnot. But, I'm a strong believer that your savings account is really only as strong in relation to the rest of your debt. Yes, some savings is better than nothing. I admit, okay, because you need to have it, right? I don't keep much around for savings, to be totally honest. I've only kept like a few hundred. Look, if you have followed me, I don't keep a big savings account, all right? I have access to, yes, hold your breath here, Mr. Ramsey. I have access to so much credit that I can get it 0%. Like I just got an offer today, 0%. I get these offers all the time. So, and it's just me. So I'm really comfortable that, I don't keep more than really just a few $100, including the water repair that I had for about $400 about 3 weeks ago. I just paid for that. So I'm not one who keeps thousands of dollars around. Okay, to each their own on how we choose to save, but it has served me well. I've been fine with it. But a lot of it is because I'm the one in total control of my debt, my finances, and I live basically on half my income. So I mean, I could have $1,000 emergency every 4 weeks and I'd be able to cover it. So because I should preface it with it, because I live so far beneath my income, that so-called $1,000 buffer that we need to have, it's already built into my monthly savings. So I hope that makes sense. It would be different though. I mean, if I were in a relationship, living with somebody, and then I would probably want to have a little bit more security of, okay, we need to have a bona fide savings account. But if it's just me and I'm living way beneath my means, I'm pretty cool with it.
Just, like the payment's so much that it's like, if you don't pay more than just like the minimum payment of $2,800,
and that's
you're
right,
gonna pay on it, literally.
And he's just figuring this out. That's okay. We're not going to criticize because I didn't know it either. Okay, they probably got him on some sort of income-based minimum payment. I didn't know it either. But now that you know, you think it's a good idea for wife to be at stay-at-home.
Forever.
That's right. And if you're not satisfying the interest within your payment, you're going to pay forever, and you're not going to see the loans go down. Because have you seen your balance go down? You told me you've seen it go up.
I've just seen it go up.
That means that is a clear sign that you had it in forbearance for a certain amount of time and the interest continued to accrue, or the ratio of your payment is not actually satisfying the interest. So the way to get out of that is to make sure your payment really would be your payment getting higher so that you're satisfying the interest and you're paying it off. Because
he's got no money to do all this dreamland stuff. He's not going to have the money. And I think even if his income doubled, he's not going to have the money. When you owe more than $4,000 a month, every 5 months, you're forking out 20 grand. 20 grand. And that's only, oh, heck, it's more than, 20 grand minimum every 5 months. And that's not enough even to dip into the principal. So if he thinks his $300,000 imaginary income is going to save anything, no. He needs the $300,000 income, and he needs a wife to go to work.
I was stupid, plain and simple, but I'm trying not to compound it. So I ended up with 2 sons, and I came out with a Parent Plus loan of $369,000.
Okay. Let's just pause here. I hope she's not a single parent, but I could be wrong. It seems as though the most of the Parent Plus loan videos that I do seem to be single women trying to get their child to school. Now, this is not the case with this, because I don't pre-watch these videos. But my heart is just feeling for her because she wanted the best for her kids. You can tell. This is just, you can feel her pain.
Oh, baby girl.
And now, granted, one is a biomedical engineer. One is a researcher with NASA. They landed well. They're making...
Okay, they landed well. All right, let's see how well they make.
Around $65,000 to $70,000. Okay.
No, that's not landing well. I'm a middle school teacher. With my part-time job, I can make in the low to mid 60s with a part-time job, 10 hours a week, and my main job. That is not landing well. Hopefully they'll be able to stratosphere it to, get up there to the $150,000, $200,000 figure. But no, that's not landing well. Not at that bracket. Not when you're calling on a national radio show in tears.
So it wasn't like they took anything, but still that was
those
too much money
jobs
for me
both
to...
sounded like they should be making twice that.
Exactly.
The first couple of years, they got to put in their time.
Okay, so they're just fresh out. Now, was there
for a
was there
child.
any handshake agreement between you and these rocket scientists that they're going to repay any of this?
Before we get into that, and I've said this before, I don't think parents should take out loans in the parent's name and rely on the child to pay them back. Now, I know when I got my first car when I was, graduating from high school and was a Datsun B210. Okay, and I got my very first car. I can tell you exactly what my mother's loan was: $1,700. Literally, I think my very first car. And of course, it's the 1980s. I understand that time has passed a bit. Okay, but literally, I bought it. It was a 1980 Datsun B210 hatchback. The car was so light that I had to put about 3 bags of full kitty litter in the back to keep it from swaying on the freeway when the trucks passed it. Otherwise, it would kind of it would fishtail in the back. And my mom I think she wrote a check for like $2,000. It was bought from a little old lady who never drove it. Okay. Now I know you can't really get cars in those prices per se today as much, but I can tell you that's about as far as she was willing to go as far as a loan with, her name on it on my behalf.
We talked about that I'm a single mom. Their dad
That's what I kind of suspected, a single mom.
does not participate in any of this or help or any way like that. And I said, I will do this for you, but we're the 3 musketeers here. This is the 3 of us in this together. So they...
Sometimes, I'm a teacher, and I get a chance to talk to a lot of parents, and parents want to do, most parents, want to do all they can for their child. But I think there comes a point where you have to decide, are you taking off your oxygen mask to save your child? Or can you give yourself some oxygen, like they do on a plane, give yourself some oxygen and give your child some oxygen? I understand the dad not wanting to participate. He looked at this and said, don't put my name on it. This is going to sound insensitive, but I'm going to say it. The dad was actually the smarter one in this case. Not blaming mom, not going to make her emotions worse than what it is. But the father was actually, when you speak in terms of math and debt and all of that, the father was correct not to put his name on it. He was correct to go, no, I'm not taking part in this. So, just something to think about. Just because somebody says no to wanting to take on a debt doesn't make them a rotten, awful person. Okay? It doesn't.
know that they need to pay it back.
Oh,
but
good.
at the same time,
Okay.
I'm the parent. I'm the adult. I
What do you
allowed
make?
this to happen.
What do you make?
I make around 85.
Okay.
That's not when you're looking at. Oh, and Dave, please don't get into your math where we just delete all the taxes and just say, well, we can pay this off in 3.5 years if your son's, just sends you a check for whatever amount. If debt were so easy to pay off, let's think about it for a minute. If debt were so easy to pay off, would we have trillions of dollars in student loan debt? Would that debt exceed credit cards? What is it about student loan debt that is so exceedingly hard to pay it off versus any other debt? And I'll tell you what it is. My opinion, okay? It's that society accepts with open arms, a warm embrace. It accepts student loan debt. It's accepted as good debt. It's guilted into parents to go, oh, but you don't want to send your child, to a lesser school. You want to send them to the most expensive school you could afford. But the problem is Parent Plus loans allow you to go way beyond what you could afford. If she had to go just on what she could afford, there is no way they would have gone to those schools. And just because a child can't go to their, dream school doesn't mean there aren't other paths either to get to that dream school, or guess what? Life just isn't always fair. And you may have to go to a lesser popular school than someone else. This is not a success. It's just not.
All right. Well, I agree. You're not an unwilling victim. You're a grown lady. You signed up for this mess, but it's a mess, and it's going to require a village.
I was grown. At least I still think I am. I have my days sometimes, but I had my $110,000 student loan. I was grown. I was 34, 30, about 32, 33. Okay, when I took out, about 34, actually closer to 34, when I took out my loan to get my 2 master degrees. There's just something that happens with student loans that I'm sure if somebody could figure it out, we'd all, that person would be rich. It's like our little brains go off. It's like all logic and all common sense go off. And I think it's because the student loan is, slide my chair here. I think it's because the student loan is so attached to us emotionally. In other words, unlike even buying a house or a car, when we think of student loans, we think of our inner ego. We think of our, our skills, our strengths, our weaknesses. It's the student loan is really us. It represents our hopes, our dreams in a way that buying a car or getting a house does not do that. You've been told as a kid, oh, you can be anything you want. All you have to do is just work really hard in school. You can be anything you want. To tell me that I can't go to school to be anything I want because we don't have the money, because I don't have the money, who wants to live with that? And I really think that the emotional impact of student loans, the societal acceptance of student loans, the pressure for everybody to go to school, even though they should not take on that much debt, okay? Even though they're maybe not academically ready for the challenge, whatever. There is so much pressure to go that kids are winding up in programs they can't complete and they drop out, and parents wind up with, what is this, 369? Heck, we might just round it off to $400,000, because by the time the interest is done, it'll be $400,000 in no time, okay? If it isn't already 3 years later. $400,000 in Parent Plus loan debt. She bought a house. She bought a house.
So the Three Musketeers are going to have to, the Three Musketeers are going to have to get together and kill Sally Mae.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're going to put them out on an assassination squad.
and the other, and while I think it'll be great if the sons do help, the problem is they've got their own lives they're going to try to build. The child's goal is to move away from home, not work with their parents on their financial pocketbook. Again, I'm not saying they can't. Clearly they can. And if they're able to, that's great. But I think that also puts pressure on a child to say, well, you don't love your parents enough. You didn't pay your parents back. Well, what a loser child you are. It puts everybody in in a no-win position. It puts the child in a no-win position because now they're aware that mom and dad are struggling on their behalf. Okay, and you have to think about how old were these kids when these loans were taken. And when these kids said, oh, sure, mom, oh, sure, dad, I'll help you pay it back. Had the child even earned so much as $1,000 on their own? Had they ever actually worked with their hands on a job before they said, oh, yeah, mom, I'll pay you back. I want to be an engineer, NASA, whatnot. In other words, it's unfair to the child to put the pressure on the child that if you don't pay mom and dad back their student loan, they can't retire. This is a no-win situation all the way around.
Believe me, if they would just let us have a decent interest rate, it's the interest rate and the compound interest that's getting it.
Not really, because let's pretend.
There's a huge balance.
Let's pretend for a second. And
I disagree with Ramsey when he says not really. If it was not really, then we wouldn't have had so many people waiting for that $10,000, $20,000 quote unquote Biden forgiveness, right? No, it is the interest rate. Don't be fooled. The interest rate starts the minute they write that check. Okay, so I do respectfully disagree with Ramsey when he says, well, no, it's not really the interest rate. It's not really. These are Parent Plus loans. Worse than the worst of the worst credit card, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, you cannot go bankrupt on these either.
Sure hope I'm not pretending. But let's pretend for a second we had 3 people making $100,000 a year, which is where we are 24 to 36 months from today.
All right, y'all know where this is going. It's either going to be paid off in 3, 4, or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's $300,000 income to deal with you said $369,000 debt. Is that what you said?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So if each of you chip in.
Oh, we all know where this is going. If everybody chips in, I don't know, $50,000 each, that'll be $150. I'm just, me, I like to try to guess before, Ramsey and Crew say it. I'm going to assume if everybody chips in $50,000, okay, 555 times 3, okay, and everybody does that for 2 years, that would be $300,000, then a little change. We could have this sucker knocked out in 2.5 years. 2.5 to 3 years, this sucker can be knocked out. This is Ramsey's version of math. Let's see what he says.
Live on make 100 and live on 50. I'm just using round numbers. That's 150 a year on this.
You know what? I am leading my people down correctly. All right. This makes me feel so good because you see, it shows that I really do listen. All right. Well, I'm telling you, you got to switch and do the Ramsey math.
That's 2.5 years.
Snaps! Snaps. I lost one the other day, okay? On a wedding one I did, so I was 1-1, but now I'm up a game. I am 2-1. Gotta get a board. Somebody remind me to get a board. I am 2-1. All right, Ramsey math. What I said? I said 2.5 years. All right, can I get an amen?
Right, and that leads to my question. I sold my house recently, not for the student loan debt. It was a 4-bedroom that my kids are in other states right now.
Before we get in her talking about her house, I had a thought, okay? If $369,000 student loan were this simple to get out of, if it were truly this simple, 2.5 years, it's gone, it's wiped out, then why all the fuss and muss over the people who have $80,000, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000, $300,000? You know why all the muss and fuss? Because it's never that easy. Because it's just never that easy. Even by their discussion just a minute ago, she said they're only making $65,000, $80,000. I make $65,000 with my full-time teaching job and a little side gig job that I do at school. I make $64,000, $65,000. I cannot give you $50,000. The math doesn't work. Okay, after they take out my taxes, after I pay, for my basic necessities, I don't have $50,000 to give. So he's saying this can be paid off in 2.5 years. But that's assuming, okay, that they're going to make in the upper echelon sometime in the next few years, and it's assuming that their lifestyle will afford that, which I can pretty much assume that it won't. If giving up $50,000 were that easy, even with a higher income, okay, let's say fine, they get to $100,000 a year each, okay, great. Even with the higher income, if giving up $50,000 were that simple, we wouldn't have people stressed out of student loans at $75,000. I wouldn't have been stressed out at $100,000. Think about that. It's never that simple. The Ramsey math, it is that simple. Ramsey math, the whole world could be out of debt singing, we've got the whole world in our hands in about 3, 4, 5 years.
So I paid off all of my debt, and I have $40,000 left.
Yeah, this is your debt too.
Right, but I paid off the other. There's no credit cards.
You're debt free except the Parent Plus.
I love that. I'm debt free except the $369,000 Parent Plus. I am not laughing at her situation. My heart breaks for her because this situation sucks. I'd rather eat raw eggs every day for a year in my smoothie and risk salmonella than be in this situation.
Right.
Okay.
So I have $40,000 left.
Okay, it goes on this.
I'm trying to figure.
Oh, life is so simple according to Ramsey's math. God love him.
And that's what my question is, should I leave this in a nest egg for myself?
No.
Okay.
No. We have to attack the student loan debt. All 3 of you have to pretend like you are one household and you are going to live like 3 college students, broke people, nothing, no life, and you're going to destroy this mess.
Nope. Kids aren't going to do that. They're kids. Do you see what I mean by this is an unfair situation to put the kids in? In the way I see it, a parent saying to a kid who's only 7, well, let's just make it low. Let's say they're 18 years old, saying to that child, hey, if you don't pay me back this student loan, I'm going to lose out on the ability to retire. I remember my mother, point of view, POV, okay? POV shapes our opinions. How was mine shaped? My mother made it very clear to me when I was growing up that if you ever chose to become a parent, you best make sure that you never have to rely on your kids for retirement. You have a duty to make sure that you do not financially harm your child with your financial needs. You have a duty to make sure that you live within your budget so that your child can have their own life, their own experiences. Okay, that's my POV. That's the way I was raised. And even though I don't have kids, I've always done my best as if I did have kids. Okay, it's kind of like I live my life as if I did have children. You know, what are my responsibilities to society? To make sure I have a retirement, to make sure that I'm mentally healthy. Okay, things like that. I have duties, you know. I just got stuff I have to do. I can't sit there and say to an 18-year-old kid, hey, mommy's going to give you some money. Like, I know I'm not a mother, but, you know, mommy's going to give you some money, but man, if you don't pay it back, I'm screwed. That's not fair to the kid. So I think it's commendable that, I guess it's commendable that Ramsey's saying, hey, you know, tell these kids who are supposed to be some of the most fun years of their life. Okay, supposed to be some of the most fun and enjoyable years of their life, whether it's their dating, whether they're hanging out with their friends, whatever. Okay, and they have to tend to mom's Parent Plus loan. Now, people can say, well, yeah, but it was for their debt. Okay, again, I stand on my ground. Telling your child at 18 years old, you are responsible for paying this debt back or mommy can't retire, really is just, I don't like to use the word rotten, but I don't think it's worth taking out a Parent Plus loan for. The child can take out their own. The child can take out their own loan. The child can figure out their path without having to burn parents. If you can financially do it and you're not crying on the Dave Ramsey show, then go for it because you can financially afford it. She could afford it, and I guarantee it to you, it's that emotion. It's that emotion of their dreams, their future, their hopes, and I'm willing to also bet it's some guilt because the parents aren't together anymore. And guilt can do financially disastrous things. And I think part of this was guilt. Okay. And I'm going to say something else, might be a little controversial, but hey, you know what? I don't expect everyone to agree with me. So I think part of it was guilt with the divorce, but I think part of it was also a one-up to the ex-husband. Okay, you're not going to take him through college. You refuse to sign, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to one-up you because I can get my boys, I know I can fulfill their dreams, and you either can't or won't. I'm being honest. I tell you, when I started this channel, I think I said in probably one of the earlier clips, okay, I'm here to say things that other people won't say. I kind of have a history of that, It's just been part of my personality. People are like, how do you say that so easily? Well, all right. I try hard not to offend, all right? But I know everybody won't agree. That's cool. It's perfectly fine with me. But part of it was a one-up on her ex-husband. And this is the result. Guaranteed. Part of it was a one-up on him.
Because your other option is to try to do this somewhat gradually or quote-unquote more reasonably, and you will never get out.
No, she won't ever get out. And I already forgot how much she made. I need a notepad. Okay, people, I need a notepad. I need a little, game, what is it, betting board, all these things that I need. Okay, looking at this amount, I would say minimum $1,000 for every 100,000, if not more. So she's looking at about $4,000 a month in Parent Plus loans if she's looking at a dime. Okay. On her income, I can't remember how much she said she made. I thought she said she made 80. I can't remember. All right. But either way, this is a whole lot of money. It's a whole lot of money on monthly payment. And remember, Parent Plus loans, the interest starts immediately once the check is cut. So that means you're paying interest the entire time the kids are in college.
Okay.
This is too big. It's too breathtaking. My stomach's in my throat, and it's not even my debt.
Believe me, every night it's like I just don't know what to do other than.
You know, when taking out a loan is going to cause you anxiety, you shouldn't take out the loan. Honestly, she really had no financial business, and I don't mean that in a negative way, okay? She really had no financial business taking out a loan for these two, for her two sons, with absolutely no way to pay it back. And what makes me upset is knowing the history of Parent Plus loans, and I've known about, you know, the history because, you know, I used to be a librarian, so I'm naturally always questioning things, always looking things up. It's just my style. But knowing that they gave money to a woman in this position, okay, single mom, 2 boys, wants the best, all right, she may never be able to retire. She may never be able to retire. And I really don't think, I think about the money that I've earned, okay, trying to turn over 50,000 of it. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm on the lower, you know, school teaching income bracket, but even if it were just half of that, even if I had to give over, you know, a third of my income, that would be hard. That would be financially devastating to my income.
Yeah, I know what to do. You get on the phone with the other two musketeers, and let's form a strategy for assassinating Sally Mae. I mean, we are going to say, you're putting in 50, everybody's putting in $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 a year.
Gee, did you guys hear that? Young people, did you hear this? 40, I was right, because it's really easy to figure out, okay, for those who may not know. Basically, count that for every 1,000 that's taken out, assume it's going to be about $900 to maybe $1,200-$1,300 a month, closer to the $1,100-$1,200-$1,300 a month. Okay, you're really not going to get under 1,000. Okay, so just basically figure for every $100,000 of student loan, you're giving up $1,000 in interest. This does not include paying into the principal. This is just to keep up on the interest. It's a lot of money. And when you start looking at what the average, you know, American makes, and you look at what the average paycheck is, you have to start, you have to put a stop somewhere and go, whoa, this isn't working. Let's not bury ourselves further. She's buried and planted.
All three of us are going to do that. Or more.
Where are you going to get more from? See, again, if it were this easy, we wouldn't have $1 trillion student loan balance. We wouldn't have a national student loan debt that was bigger than credit cards, bigger than cars, as far as balances. If it were easy for us all to just musketeer our way together. So why doesn't it work? Because life gets in the way. Life happens. That's why it doesn't work.
Because I didn't sign up to commit financial suicide for.
Yes, she did sign up for it.
2 rocket scientists.
Yes, she did sign up for it. She did. She signed up for financial suicide. You can't say on one hand, I didn't sign up. You can't say on one hand, I took on the loans, it was my responsibility, I'm the adult. And then on the other hand, say, well, I didn't sign up to do financial suicide. Which one is it? Either the loans were forced on you, and I don't think they were. Yeah, you signed up for financial suicide. You didn't know you were signing up for it, but you signed up for it. I signed up for financial suicide. Okay? $110,000, middle school teacher, no way in hell I was ever going to pay that off. I could even with my part-time job, I did not have, it was really going to be a one or the other. I was either going to have a retirement account at 6 figures, or I was going to pay off the 6-figure student loan. It wasn't going to be both. It was going to be one or the other. And in my mind, I had concluded that I would take the 6-figure retirement account and just accept that the student loan was just going to be along for the ride at 15% garnishment. Sucks. but she did sign up for it. And she signed up for it because she didn't know what she was signing up for. Something I've learned, whenever you sign up for something, and I don't care if it's student loans, because I used to be a researcher. One of the things, I used to work at a newspaper library. I actually wanted to be a librarian, but you know, the one smart move I actually made, I actually wanted to be a librarian. I love libraries. I could live in a library, okay? But you know why I chose not to be a librarian? Because I noticed there weren't that many librarian jobs. And I was actually smart enough to go, I don't think I'll be a librarian because there aren't that many librarian jobs. The one time I actually made a smart decision about school. It was short-lived, but okay.
And that's where I didn't understand whether or not I should split my money between the student loan debt and keeping something
No,
for
the
myself
problem is
to
it's in
set
your
myself up
name,
for
and
the
if these
future.
two guys decide they're going to be goobs instead of Three Musketeers, you're really...
Okay, I'm sorry to cut, but calling the kids goobs when the parent voluntarily took out the loan. Calling the kids goobs, and I really love the Ramsey show. Obviously, I love the Ramsey show. I can sit and do, you know, video reaction after reaction. I could not do that to someone I absolutely did not like. I've been listening to Ramsey for years. I wish I knew about him when I was 20. He'd have probably saved my hiney a few times, guaranteed. But you can't take out these loans, and I understand he's the one calling the kids goobs, not the mother, okay? But his perception of it is that these kids could be goobs because they don't pay the mom back. These kids were 18 years old when they took out the loan, 18, 19 years old. These kids don't have a concept yet, and we have to remember this. They do not have a concept yet of how hard this is going to be to pay off. And it is not as simple as just simply saying, hey, you know what? Y'all go make $150,000. Y'all give me $50,000 of it. We're just going to ignore taxes and everything else, and we will be out of here in, you know, a third of a car payment. Third of the time it takes to pay off a car, right? They're not goobs. I don't see these kids as goobs. Okay, I see them as much of a, I see them, oh geez, I hate to say this. They're kind of a victim of their mother's actions. They are. Mother made an action. She made the action as an adult. That adult action now affects the kids. Let's just follow the chain of responsibility. Right? Just follow the chain of responsibility. I'm not saying the mother's, you know, a bad mom or anything, okay? But it's bad in the sense of, just like I was, okay? This $369,000 is an emotional debt. That's what this $369,000 is. It's an emotional debt. It's debt based on guilt. It's debt based on one-upsmanship from the ex. This is not just a $369,000 student loan. And in this case, I think Ramsey's very wrong to say, well, these two goobs don't step up and, you know, take their responsibility. I disagray.
Up a creek.
Okay.
So I'm sure hoping they're not goobs. I'm sure hoping they're
No,
men
they
that
are.
will follow through and keep their word and take care of their mama.
See, and this is something, again, POV, all right, point of view. This is something my mother would say no child should ever have pressured on them. No child. And my mother could be, my mother could be tight with money. I got that from her. I'm sure of it, okay? But this is something my mother would say, no. I can definitively tell you that. She would say this is not the type of responsibility a child should have towards a parent. It's just not. And I agree with that. If the kids are able to, at some point down the road, contribute and they want to, that's fine. But if the kids go out and live their life, that's their right too. I'm not saying this is a great situation. I'm not saying even I'm happy about it. The situation, I mean, it sucks. It does. But we have to look at what started, what decisions made it, you know, the way it is today.
Yeah, they are the best.
Okay, then let's...
There isn't a parent alive that has a Parent Plus loan that doesn't say their kid's the best. There isn't a parent alive that has a Parent Plus loan that can't afford to pay it that doesn't say their kid is the best. There isn't a parent alive that has a Parent Plus loan that's losing anxiety, sleepless nights, praying their kid might be able to help them pay it back that doesn't say their kid is the best. We have to take away all the pretty paint and pictures and take it down and look at what the wall really, really is. That's what we have to look at. You know, there's a video. I will link it down here if I remember. You know, I'm trying really hard to remember it. I think I'm doing a pretty good job, okay? I will link a video down here. A mother making $40,000 a year as a drug counselor took out some $200,000 plus loan for her child and said her child basically just sees her child as a great superstar. She didn't use those words. Okay, I'm paraphrasing here. But basically said, I had to do it because if I didn't take out this $200,000 plus loan, my daughter wouldn't have been able to go to this school that she wanted to go to. There is not a parent alive with a Parent Plus loan that is going to tell you it wasn't worth it. It's just not going to happen. They'll tell you, yeah, I spent too much, but they're not going to tell you, oh, no, it wasn't worth it for my kid.
While we still have that camaraderie, let's get agreement that let's start putting some actual numbers, and all three of us are saying, hey, you know, it's permission to play. I got to ante up and ante up. Everybody's going to ante up $4,000 a month.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'll bet $1 on it, and a big dollar. It's not going to happen. Parents should not borrow so much money that they are reliant on their kids to pay them back so they can retire. And parents should have zero guilt. And trust me, I deal with parents. I've been doing it for 18 years. Parents should have zero guilt because they have to tell their child, look, I got you to 18. I will give you what money I can while you're in college, but I am not going to sign away my retirement to put you through college. I've said it earlier, okay, in another video, and I talked about, you know, when we co-sign things, we take away our power as co-signers when we co-sign things. Why? Because now we are at the mercy of the organization that we co-signed for. She is at the mercy of the student loan company because she co-signed for this. Imagine if she had not co-signed for this. Let's just say she had not co-signed for this. She said to her kids, you know what? Mommy's within maybe 20 years of retiring. I need to really get my retirement set up so you guys don't have to take care of me because I don't have any funds. All right. I'm not going to co-sign any loans with you. You're going to have to figure out how to financially get yourself through the situation you need to get through. You may not be able to attend the school of your dreams. Wherever you go, wherever life takes you, I will help you as I can afford it. Some months may be leaner than others. If I can give you $1,000 a month, I will. If I can't, I won't. But I'm not going to sign away and now be at the mercy of Sallie Mae, the federal government, Chase Bank, wherever. Federal private loans, wherever. I have literally told parents they should not ever feel guilty. You do for your child what you can. And one thing you can do for your child is make sure you're not so broke with student loans that they have to take care of you.
Okay.
And you're going to work extra jobs until your income makes it easier to do $4,000 a month. Because
oh, sure, because it's easy to work for a company like NASA and go, oh, you know what, I got extra time in my hands. They're trying to build some sort of aeronautical astronaut. I don't know what type of career. I got D's in math, okay? They're trying to build their career. Their focus should be on their career. And so you're at NASA and you're going to say, excuse me, I got to get to my part-time job at Wendy's. Now what sucks is I'm a teacher. And if I have to work a part-time job at Wendy's, I do. People kind of associate that with educators, not people who work at NASA. These guys are out to build their career, not take on a part-time job to help mommy get through retirement. Again, do not get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. Okay? I'm not insensitive to her situation, but I am highly sensitive to how much responsibility is being put on these kids that they probably didn't comprehend at 18 years old. Now they're responsible for mommy's retirement. Nah, that's not right. Not in my book.
$4,000 a month is 48,000 times 3 is 150,000 into 369 gets us out of debt in 2.5 to 3 years.
If getting out of debt at 369,000 was so easy, then the people who are in debt 100,000 like me had been a cakewalk. Why is it so hard?
Oh God, that would be amazing.
Well, it's simple math. Did you do it with me? Divide 369 by 50,000.
It's like when I was doing the math here, I'm looking at 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, well, you're looking at you doing it by yourself too.
We have a small problem, Houston. We have a problem, Houston. We don't know when they're going to get their pay raises. We don't know what the cost of living is going to be in the city they're going to go to when they get those pay raises. We don't know if they're even going to stay with NASA. See, what have I said before, people? What have I said before? Can we build our financial future based on hope? Can we build our financial future based on what we think we're going to make? No, we can't. I've always said, when I look at my financial future, I always go, it's the income I have now or less. I go in the reverse. See, I've learned that. All right, I've learned that. It's always, I go in the reverse. I go, okay, 5 years from now, what happens if my income's less? I don't go 5 years from now, I expect to make, $5,000 more. This whole assumption, this whole math, the problem with it is it doesn't involve the real human beings. This is on paper. On paper, okay, they're making $65,000, and then on paper, okay, 2 years from now, they're going to all be up to $150,000. On paper, they'll be able to fork over $50,000 after taxes. This is all on paper. It's all hypothetical. See the problem? One is titled Meet a Doctor with $895,000 in student debt, whose balance has surged on an income repayment plan. It's just wildly out of control. Hopefully my screen won't go off on the light too much. If it does, I do apologize. All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about a doctor named Kathleen. All right, and I did cross out her name intentionally. Kathleen loves being a doctor, but she doesn't love the nearly $1 million in student debt that came along with it. Now, while this is an extreme amount of student loan money, she unfortunately probably has more company than we can imagine. And even though it is an extreme amount, it doesn't mean that anyone at any level of student loan debt can't learn from it. All right. After graduating from college, I intentionally left out the name of her college. In 1987, Kathleen knew she wanted to go into medicine and specialize in feet and ankles. Taking out student loans was the only way for her to do it. So she borrowed $277,000 in federal loans to obtain her degree in Doctor of Pediatric Medicine and enrolled in an incoming contingent repayment plan, which was the first version of an income-driven student loan repayment plan that gives borrowers affordable monthly payments based on the income they earn with a promise of loan forgiveness after 25 years. 28 years later, Kathleen has $895,512 in student debt. Insider viewed documents to verify these amounts. This is from Business Insider, where I got this. All right, so let's just take my situation. I had $85,000 in student loan debt, and 16 years later, it became $108,000. Again, it doesn't matter what amount your student loan is. We can all learn from this. So keep in mind, she took this out in the 80s, in 1987. All right, so basically, if I'm correct, this is about 3 times the amount that the student loan is now worth. Quote, I thought I'm going to be working with a doctorate in this country, so I'll make a lot of money and be able to pay this. This country she's referring to as the United States. Kathleen, now 55, told Insider, but I never ended up making a ton of money, and I've maintained the monthly income contingent payments, and they've never been in arrears. That means they've never been behind. But they're just wildly out of control now. Periods of deferment and forbearance are largely to thank for Kathleen's debt balance that is over 3 times the original amount she borrowed. While she was in her doctoral and residency program, her loans were placed on school deferment, which allows a borrower to postpone their loan payments while in school. However, since her student loans were unsubsidized, interest continues to accrue during that time and capitalized, meaning it added on to her principal balance, causing her debt to grow. Okay, a couple of things I do want to point out, all right? We talk about doctoral programs. Unfortunately, doctorate degrees don't guarantee you wealth. A lot of people in my family, a couple of them at least, do have doctorate degrees. I've been involved, I remember being really little and walking onto university campus. So I was really raised around a university environment, being from Eugene, Oregon. I was just a couple miles from the University of Oregon. Unfortunately, today, 2022, The doctoral programs don't pay off, I think, as well financially as they once did. I think 60s, 70s, 80s, I will even push it into the 90s and tell you, I think doctoral programs were really a strong thing to have on your resume. And while I don't have one, I have parents that do have them. I can tell you they don't make you rich, but they certainly didn't make you broke like this gal is. Okay. The doctorate program, unfortunately, a lot of people don't seem to understand that a doctorate program, you get a doctorate because you want the satisfaction of a doctorate, or you have a very specific career in mind that requires a doctorate. Never get a doctorate just simply because you want the social pat on the back. Not if you're doing it under student loans, which is really another whole video in itself. But here we have Kathleen, who thought that getting a doctorate would basically guarantee her wealth. And I don't think that's selfish of her. I think that's probably what she was told. It's what she was led to believe. Okay? So I don't blame her for that. All right? Let's continue on down. When we talk about unsubsidized loans, as most of you probably know, you have subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized loans is where the government basically picks up the tab, the interest, while you're going to school. Unsubsidized loans, that interest starts right away. That's just the basics of it, all right? So what happens is she has unsubsidized loans, and so immediately as she takes out these loans, that interest starts building. And if she doesn't keep up on that interest payment, that quarterly or semester interest payment, they add that to her original balance and it grows. This is just like a credit card. It is just like a credit card. It's just under the name student loan. Okay. On top of that, Kathleen's forgiveness timeline on her income contingent repayment plan got pushed back following transfers of her debt to new student loan companies. I made a video about this earlier. People, I strongly encourage, especially if you are on a federal loan, do not transfer your loan to other companies. All it does is delay how long you're going to get it forgiven, whether you are on public service loan forgiveness, which is tax-free, or whether you are on just standard loan payment and after 10, 20, 25 years, you get it forgiven. Okay. Think of it like a mortgage. If I keep refinancing my mortgage, I keep pushing that amortization schedule back to zero again. And every time I do that, it's costing me money. When people refi their mortgage, it's not being done for free. Okay, it's costing money. It's costing money up front to refi your mortgage, and it's costing you money in the long run. It's the same thing with student loans. Every time you shuffle your student loan around to a new company because you think they're going to give you a better rate, long-term, short-term, whatever, you're basically, it's no different than, in many ways, refinancing your house. Okay, and some mortgages are as big as a house payment. It's no different than that, all right? So one of her mistakes truly was to keep refinancing her not her mortgage, but her student loan. All right. President Joe Biden's Education Department has taken steps to help borrowers like Kathleen by proposing limits to interest capitalization, and it's planning to introduce a new income-driven repayment plan in the coming weeks. But that doesn't solve the decades of financial challenges Kathleen's huge debt load has brought, and Biden's reported plan to forgive $10,000 in student debt for borrowers making less than $150,000 would only be a drop in the bucket for her. I said it earlier in a video. $10,000 debt is not going to help someone like her. It would not help someone like me with my $108,000. Okay. I really value education. I think it's important that we give people the opportunity to be educated, but this is a really bad system, Kathleen said. Think about the economic problem this has caused our country. Yes, I believe student loan debt is now well into the trillions with a T. I would have never taken out those loans. Oh, famous last words of probably every student who's ever had a student loan that could not pay it off in a timely manner. Famous last words. She's not alone in that. I would have the exact same words being said myself. Currently, Kathleen earns 5 figures running a North Carolina private practice, and she also works with underprivileged elderly people in nursing homes. She said that while she loves being a doctor, she's not making the money she thought she would be making because she does not have a high volume of clients. She wishes she financed her degree differently. There is this belief that if you're a doctor, you're going to bank it big, and especially if you're a doctor with a PhD. Not necessarily. I'll talk more about the end of this video or the end of this news story, but it says she's private practice. And I want to discuss that at the end regarding public service loan forgiveness. In retrospect, I would have never taken out those loans, Kathleen said. It's a great job. It's a rewarding job, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else, but I would have found another way. Even coming from a family with very moderate means, I would have figured it out. Kathleen has not been making payments on her student loans for the past 2 years thanks to the pandemic pause on payments. And she said she does not know what her monthly bill will be when the pause expires after August 31st. Her debt balance is split into 2 separate loans, one totaling $27,491 and the other $868,021. And if all goes to plan, her estimated payoff date on the larger balance is in April 2023, according to documents reviewed by Insider. Her smaller balance has an estimated payoff date of January 2043. If Kathleen succeeds in getting the vast majority of her balance paid off through income-driven repayment next year, that's also known as IDR, okay, she will join the very select few in the country who have accomplished the same feat. A report from the Government Accountability Office in May found that as of June 2021, the Education Department had approved just 157 borrowers for full forgiveness under IDR plans. And prior to that report, the number stood at 32 borrowers total. That's out of the 4.4 million who have been in repayment for 20 years or longer. I was almost short 20 years myself, according to department data. Given that the repayment plan Kathleen is on is worked out for so few people, she's not banking on that payoff date next year, especially since she was promised forgiveness after 25 years, and that still hasn't happened. I hate to see this cycle repeated. Kathleen is not the only student loan borrower who is struggling under a debt load while employed in what's supposed to be a high-paying profession. Insider previously spoke to Steve Pederzani, a licensed attorney with $347,000. He's struggling to pay off due to a difficult job market. Okay, so again, we have attorneys, we have doctors, the people that we assume are going to, they're going to carry a big debt, but they should have, as Dave Ramsey, I think, would say, a really big shovel to get out of that debt. And it's finding out that that's not always the case. And that may be just, it may be more rare than we like to admit that perhaps people carrying big student loan debts really don't have a big income shovel to get themselves out of debt. But we've been led to believe that they're going to be given really big shovels to get out of debt if they'll get into the big debt to begin with. We're not doing okay, Pederzani said. Whoever told you that lawyers have instant tickets to the middle class that maybe existed 10 or 20 years ago, but doesn't exist anymore. It's not the same job market anymore. I absolutely agree. If I think about when I graduated from the University of Oregon, and I graduated in 1989, totally different job market. I came out with a bachelor's degree and the world was pretty much my oyster. I could get a job anywhere, I had multiple opportunities to, work in city government, newspaper. Those opportunities aren't as easy to come by today. They still do exist, clearly. They're just harder to come by. Republican lawmakers have frequently criticized the idea of broad student loan forgiveness because it would go to supposed high earners like doctors and lawyers. But for some, that high income might never come, allowing interest to accrue and balances to grow. I will be honest, I have been reading, and depending upon who the next leadership team is in the White House, there are reports on the internet about the fact that there are people who would like to get rid of PSLF altogether. So the public service loan forgiveness, there is talk. It's just talk right now. So that's why I haven't done a specific story on it. But there is talk right now about, depending upon who gets into office next, it may be that PSLF does not exist, and I quote, for future borrowers. So right now we're pretty good. We're pretty safe on it. Get on the program. You're grandfathered in, etc. But there is serious talk about in the future because the program is so expensive, it's so partisan, about whether or not it will even exist. But that, again, is another whole video in itself. Okay, so Biden's Education Department is planning to announce a new income-driven repayment plan in the coming weeks that will make student loans much more affordable, according to Undersecretary of Education James Cavall. And in July, the department released a proposal to prevent interest from spiraling on student loans, adding on to a borrower's principal balance. But for decades, Kathleen said she's been crumbling under her student debt. And while the upcoming reforms likely won't help her, she hopes a better system will be in place for her 2 kids. There is definitely talk out in the student loan world about perhaps modifying, stopping completely the fact that you can't add interest to the interest. You know, like a credit card does. If you don't pay that month's interest, they just add it to the balance. I don't know how seriously that's being taken. I will be following up on that as I do things with all student loan news. And if anything really develops with that, of course, I'll make sure you know about it. I was so young when I took out those loans, Kathleen said. But at least I've been able to be a better counsel to my children with their debt. I hate to see this cycle repeated for themselves. Yeah, we blame young people for taking out student loan debt with no assistance and no help to pay it off. We tell young people, you know, go to college, which is great, but we've got to teach them how to go to college in a financially affordable way that doesn't have them walking out with a mini mortgage when they graduate and then being forced to possibly work 2, even 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. And I believe if I can make that mistake in my 30s and I'd already had a bachelor's degree, we can't blame young people for making the same mistake. All right, so that's basically the end of the article. But what I do want to talk about is if I were her, if I were Kathleen, what would I do? The first question I had to ask and look up the answer to, which I've got up on the screen here, is she is a private practice doctor. So the question then becomes, well, are private practice doctors eligible for public service loan forgiveness tax-free? And it appears they are not. And in reality, it makes sense. Okay, most doctors, most lawyers, one of their goals is to own their own practice for a very simple reason. It's more profitable. Okay, and that makes sense. You know, I don't blame them. All right. So is private practice eligible for PSLF? According to financialresidency.com, working in a private practice will disqualify you from public service loan forgiveness, as will working for a for-profit hospital. You must work full-time for the employer, so independent contractors or those with part-time hours don't qualify for public service loan forgiveness. There is no income limit to PSLF. Down the road, however, there may be an income limit to PSLF. That's also trending somewhat on the news because some people are going, okay, if we're going to have PSLF, perhaps we should limit how much you can have. She is a private practice doctor. She is 55 years old, which is exactly the age I'm at, and she's staring down the barrel of basically a $1 million student loan. Here's what I would do if I were her. And this is possibly easier said than done. I would count my losses. I would realize I'm about 15 years away to retirement. She's the same age I'm at, so that means we can both retire at 67. There's one thing I know that I would not want. I do not want to go into retirement with any sort of student loan debt. That's just something I absolutely do not want to face if I can do anything about it, and certainly not a huge student loan debt. But here's the problem as I see. I believe that because she is the age she's at, that she should actually go work for a nonprofit hospital or some public service. Now, I know it may not have been her dream, but I'm very pragmatic, okay? I live in financial reality more than I ever have in my entire life, all right? And one of the things is we can want something very, very much, but we also have to look at where we're going down the road. And holding on to a loan like that, how do you pay off a piece of property? How do you save for retirement? If you want to help your kids through college, that's definitely out of the question as well. It may be difficult, but if I were Kathleen's best friend, I would tell her, you know, you tried something, you've tried it since the 80s, it's apparently not working. The times have changed. Okay. I would tell her to actually go work for a nonprofit. And after 10 years, because we have to have some buffer room there, she may not get done completely in 10 years. It took me 16 years, all right, before I was able to send in my final paperwork and be told by Fed Loan, you don't need to pay anymore, all right? Took me 16. So basically, if she's looking at about 15 years, let's just round off to 15 years. And let's just say even generously, she works until she's 70. Okay? We'll just say she works a few extra years. The problem that I see is she holds so much student loan debt that there really is no statistical way for her to pay it off short of coming into a very large inheritance, okay, winning the lottery or something like that. But here's the bigger problem that I see. Her debt is not tax free. So that means even if she, let's just say even when, okay, because she will eventually get it forgiven. But even if she does, here is the problem. Now, because her student loan is not tax free, she's going to be given tax forgiveness on a $900,000 plus loan by the time she actually gets this forgiven. But that's going to be what she's taxed on. If she pays 20% tax, she could be looking at, nearly $200,000. Even at 15%, she's probably looking around $135,000, $140,000. This puts her almost right back to where she was in 1987 when she borrowed, I think it was $277,000. This is where paying based on one's income can be a financial disaster, a financial nightmare. Great, she's looking forward to having this student loan paid off with the student loan company, but now it's going to be at $900,000 plus. But now all she's going to do is turn around and let's say she does make the goal in the next 2 years, it's forgiven. Now at 57, 58 years old, she's looking at a tax bill, I'm going to say minimum 15%, that's about $135,000. I'm not really math smart. I looked it up and did the math before, okay? So she's looking at a tax bill of about $135,000 on up. Her problem is not solved. If I were Kathleen, if you happen to see this and if I were your best friend, I would tell you there's no shame in what you've done and in what you've tried to do. But unfortunately, even when this is forgiven, your problem just shifts now to the IRS. Now you're entering your 60s, 57, 58, 59 years old, and you still have around $135,000 to $200,000 plus student loan bill to pay it off. 10 years in public service, as the law stands now, she could wipe that out in 10 years. And you tell me that that's not the best return she could get on her money.